Good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome
Hello.
along.
Good day. You're in the
Yeah,
UK.
this is sort of good night.
Yeah.
It's 10 o'clock
Yeah.
at night, but it's a classic
Yeah.
streaming time for me.
It's
So
it's a bit late for you. Well, it's
yeah,
not ridiculously late. I don't know. When do you go to bed?
between 3:30 and 5:30.
Yeah, because you're
It's
often at my stream,
yes, it's an
so you're
I'm
up late,
I'm an American viewer stream. It seems so I have
right?
to cater to them, and everybody else in my life just has to work around that.
I think that's
Um,
true for a lot of UK streamers. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So welcome to the channel. I'm going to kick straight in.
Thank you.
Let's ask you some questions. What is
Okay.
Sneakyteak's favorite meal?
I don't have a favorite meal, man. I like too much stuff. If I had to just off the cuff pick like one of the greatest restaurant/meal experiences ever, there's a sushi restaurant in Sausalito, which is north of San Francisco, right across the bay, and it's called Sushi Run, and it's fantastic. And
Oh
you
yeah.
can just go to the bar and order like chef selection 10 piece or whatever, and you can't do much better than that. But I love food, and I've spent my whole life cooking and eating around the world and stuff, so I can never really pick a single food.
Yeah, I'm an absolute sucker for sushi, so I'm pleased with that one.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. I'm already batting 1,000 on your desired answers. Good,
So,
good.
seeing the cup, tea or coffee? Not in the cup, in general.
Coffee. It's coffee in the cup, and I drink coffee basically all day, every day. I like tea too, but I'm not an aficionado for either. I know some people are like importing really cool loose
Oh,
leaf teas, and I'm basically drinking cheap green tea,
yeah.
and I'm drinking pretty cheap drip coffee most of the time. We have an espresso machine too,
Okay,
but
so it is
I
that.
like the
It's
bean
not
juice.
instant.
It's not. We have instant coffee too, but that's usually for like dishes. Sometimes you can cook with instant coffee, which is
Oh
fun.
right, I thought you cleaned the dishes with instant coffee.
Yeah, no,
Because to
yeah,
me,
yeah. You just
to me,
scrub
that's
them.
about all
Yeah,
that it's worth.
I,
I'm
I
not an
like my
instant
plates
coffee
to have a
person.
slight coffee flavor when I'm eating. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm
absolutely.
definitely not an instant coffee person. I'm really not a fan. But
Yeah,
I do love
that's
my
fair.
coffee.
Yeah.
What's your favorite non-alcoholic beverage? Is it coffee?
I like coffee. That would be my go-to pick. I like horchata. I like there's a fruit soda that you can find in the US and in Mexico that's called jarritos, and
Ooh,
they have a guava flavor. Maybe that's my favorite thing.
that sounds
It's a
incredible.
pink color, but you can never find it. They always have lime and fruit punch, but the guava flavor is hard to find.
That's always the way with good things, isn't it? What's your
Hmm.
favorite alcoholic beverage?
Um,
And is it eggnog?
yeah, I love eggnog. I love margaritas, and we make them sometimes.
Mm.
Like, I'm a pretty simple person. Usually, I'll just have a bottle of beer or something, but I also learned to like scotch when I was living with a Scottish roommate in San Francisco. So,
That's the answer.
on just on a rock, just neat.
When you say beer, I'm assuming we're talking the fizzy lagerish kind of beer, not a like an
Yeah,
actual beer. Like,
what
because
do you
in
mean,
Britain,
an
like a beer is
actual
a
beer?
still drink, right? And it's like you'd probably call it an ale, I think.
Okay, so you differentiate between lagers and ales,
Well,
and
I mean more
still?
specifically, like beer is not fizzy in any way whatsoever, and lager is lager, which is what you guys drink. Like a Bud Light is a lager, right? A Coors Light is a lager.
Well,
Um,
a Bud Light is a utility. I wouldn't call it a lager necessarily. Yeah.
yeah, but that's yeah. Here, if you walk up to into a pub and you order a beer, you won't get anything fizzy. Um,
That's so
yeah.
weird. I don't remember that even from being in London a couple times.
Well, I mean,
But
if you
maybe
if you
like I
ask a
was just
beer in
being
an
laughed
American
at.
accent, you will get a lager.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
As a
Yeah.
bartender,
Yeah.
I will just hand you the nearest bottle of Coors Light and go. You take that away with you and sit in your corner.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm still confused. So but by nature, beers, lagers and ales will have some carbonation to them because isn't that just a naturally occurring byproduct of brewing beer?
okay, yeah. I mean, it's when I say fizzy,
One
I
is
mean like this
flatter than
proper
another. You're thinking
bubbly
like
thing.
stout.
Yes,
Like okay, right,
stout. Okay,
right, right.
stout is the exact word that we'd call beer. Yeah, there you go.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I
And
mean,
also, they wouldn't be cold.
truthfully, I like them all, and it's fun to talk about this in this kind of setting because I almost don't talk about alcohol at all on my stream,
Mm,
and the reason is that I respect the fact that we all have our own struggles with substances and
of
substance
course.
abuse, and I have to expect there's some number of people that are like really would prefer that I just not talk about alcohol at the time because
Hmm.
maybe they're trying to go sober or maybe it's kids watching or something. So I try not to romanticize it.
Yeah.
And I drink a lot less than I used to
Oh, me too.
because it's
Yeah.
just really hard on your voice. And I
Yeah.
mean, I'm talking too much, right?
Yeah. It's hard work.
But I pretty much like alcohol across the gamut, and I always have. I love tequila. I love mezcal. That's my favorite mixing liquor
Hmm.
for sure. Just
Well,
like
let's
awesome.
romanticize it completely. If you made your own cocktail, what would you call it?
If I made my own cocktail,
Yeah.
oh gosh, um, I feel like I need to give it another, adjective tree name varietal, right? Like we've got Sneaky Teak and Subtle Oak, so maybe we can make maybe it's something like that.
Well, the subtle
it's
oak
like
is an
a
incredible name for a
yeah, like
cocktail.
like Subtle Oak would be a good drink name
Yeah,
actually, right?
that's
You could
beautiful.
imagine drinking a Subtle Oak, and you would roll up, and it would be like a dimly lit, corner, and
Mm,
and you would like kind of look sideways at a man standing primly and order your Subtle Oak, and they would
yeah.
just walk away wordlessly
Is that a
and
warm kind
and
of
bring
whiskey
you
flavor coming from this subtle oak?
Yeah,
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 yeah, I'm
yeah, but
happy with
but
this.
not overpowering,
No, it's
not too
subtle.
spirit forward. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it. So
good.
moving on to something that you feature a lot in your streams and yet never feature music.
Mm,
Obviously, you don't play music in your streams, although we do have the Sneaky Teak jukebox.
much
Um,
much to my chagrin, honestly, I wish that I could.
yeah.
I wish that DMCA were in a different space to where if there was a reasonable relationship that I could have that's not ridiculously expensive, in which I could showcase more more records, I
Mm,
would, because I love music.
yeah.
But yeah, that's just it's such hot water.
Yeah, I mean, I used to stream 3 years ago, and
Mhm.
then it was sort of everything was free and on the table, and we just did Song Request Sunday, and you got to listen to viewers' music,
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
loved
people
it. But
still do that,
nowadays,
and I'm like, I hope you're not building a
yeah,
career because that's pretty
because it's not
great.
going very far. Yep.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if you can somehow narrow it down,
Okay.
maybe to something that is a go-to, who would you say
Hmm.
is your favorite band of all time, or artist, or musician of some sort?
Favorite
Yeah.
uh Tool?
Wow. Um,
Did you
that
expect that answer?
No, no, not at all. There's a song from
Yeah.
them. I think it's 10,000 Days, 10,000,
10,000 Days is not the
10,000
most recent
somethings.
album, but
But
one of the
it's
newer.
it's all. Oh, is that the album? And I
Mhm.
discovered this through a previous girlfriend of mine, and we were
Mhm.
driving sort of middle of the night. We'd parked up sort of twilight,
The
and
Pot was very popular.
she
Zombie.
she played me the whole album, just front to
Oh,
back,
okay.
sitting still, and it was just
Yeah,
like
yeah.
whoa.
I have
But
a
yeah, I
10,000 Days tour shirt.
totally
It's
didn't
one of my
have you down
favorite.
for that.
Yeah,
Because you're
yeah,
very
but I
you're
like a lot of
always
things.
referring to the earworms, the sort of the very catchy songs. I thought it was
I
going to be.
think that Maynard makes earworms, but
They're
what
not
an
the thing that
earworm is whatever sticks in your head.
Yeah, I suppose.
So,
But it's your
yeah.
little kind of ditties, if you like. They
Yeah,
definitely
yeah,
they've got
yeah.
substance.
But
Which
but that's
so
but that's the thing, is that I like Tool, but I also I really like Ariana Grande, actually. Like
yeah,
I think she's a
yeah,
super fun, fantastic musician, and the spectrum really does cover those two things.
yeah,
I see
good.
Jake's flat face, by the way. I should say I called Bud Light a utility, but I have also drank a lot of Bud Light, so it's an effective utility.
Yeah, it's I love a Bud Light. As long as it's in the afternoon, not in the evening. I've
Not
moved past
not
it,
too
but
late. Yeah, not too
yeah,
late. You're wasting time.
yep, exactly. What's the best live gig you've ever been to?
Live gig,
Yeah, or concert, I think you guys call it.
specifically music.
Yeah.
Two stories. I think probably the best performance that I've ever seen was Atoms for Peace at ACL here in Austin. Atoms for Peace is Tom York from Radiohead and Flea from Red Hot Chili
Red Hot
Peppers.
Chili Peppers, yeah, the bassist.
Um, they made the just the one album, Amok, and it's like fantastic cover to cover. It's just really really good, and the show was fantastic too. And in particular, I appreciated getting to see almost like polar opposite musicians
Mm,
because
definitely.
but somehow they work together well, which is really incredible. Flea is just this great energetic stage presence. He's the consummate showman. It's like I've seen him walk out doing handstands, and he's like covering when someone else in the band isn't feeling very well or something. And Tom York like hates live shows.
Yeah.
He doesn't like to do them because he's so perfectionist. And I actually watched him have a full-on tantrum because like one of the instruments wasn't sounding the way he wanted it. Like he walked off the stage.
Wow.
But when that wasn't happening, the music was great. Really, really solid.
Oh, that
But
sounds incredible.
but caveat, my actual best concert story is from Lights All Night back in 2012 or something like this.
Hmm.
It was an old Dallas area multi-stage indoor venue, like electronic festival.
Wow.
And yeah, gosh, this is just this. I've told this story on stream, so I'll keep it short. But unparalleled experience
Mm.
to where we were a bit late showing up for one of the artists. We were really excited to see this person, and it's fun to be close to the front. You want to be by the banister. You want to be right there.
Yeah.
It's where you can see the sweat drip off their face, and you can like be in the music with everyone, right? And up to that point, 90% of my experience with concerts was rock.
Mm.
And rock and metal listeners are great. They're way kind. They're very into their music. They're fun, but you do not walk in front of them.
No.
That's their spot,
No.
right?
I made
And
that
that's
mistake
just
at a
the
Motorhead concert. I know what you mean.
y-
Yeah, you just
you
don't do
shouldn't
it.
have done that.
No.
That was dangerous. That was a dangerous play. Like this is the pecking order, right? Like we staked out this spot. And so we got there and I was like, okay, well this is where I am now. I'm at the back and we'll just enjoy it as we can. And I swear to you, when I say that it was like a Matrix moment, like somebody split the code in half in this moment, because without saying anything, this woman basically appeared, reached out to me physically with her hand,
Hmm.
and said, "Everybody gets their turn," and then just walked me to the front,
Wow.
like splitting the Red Sea, and totally wordless. Other than that, like people just got out of the way and we walked straight to the front and I was on the rail, which is I
That's
just
amazing.
don't to this day I still don't fully understand the like collective conscience that must have been enabled in that moment to
Yeah.
allow that to happen. I don't even know how people noticed to get out of the way. She's
Yeah.
behind them, it's a festival. So, yeah.
It's an experience thing.
That's the craziest
That's not a
experience for
performance. That's
sure.
an experience. Yeah, that sounds
That was an
incredible.
experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Obviously, you've admitted to Ariana Grande quite
Mm,
happily. Have you got a guilty
yeah.
pleasure? Have you got a I'll only listen to this when I'm
No.
really private? No?
No, I don't. I try to downplay the idea of the guilty pleasure
Hmm.
because the whole point is that we should be able to enjoy things. Like a guilty pleasure would be like, yeah, sometimes I like to go out and do murder. That's a guilty pleasure. That's crime. You
Yeah,
can't go
okay.
do murder. That's not a good pastime. But like, I like to listen to Ariana Grande. Go nuts.
Yeah,
It's
I
like
mean,
it's
not
music.
everybody's as open with it as as yourself. So sometimes you
Mm,
get people who sit there and, I mean,
sure.
you get your guy who goes, oh, I listen to hardcore rap music, and you go, what's your guilty pleasure? And he goes, I flipping love Britney Spears, and you're like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
great.
I'm
um,
I'm trying to think. What do I like to listen to that some people would be like? I don't know. I definitely like some pop sometimes,
yeah,
but not all of it. And you have to be in the right mood, right? I think that when you stand it up against like Tool, who I named before, that a lot of what maybe we're saying when we say guilty pleasure is that we feel that it's in some way insubstantial,
yeah,
right? It's kind of airy music.
yeah.
It's like a light, but we need that. If I was only listening to Maynard songs all the time, I would
Oh
not
God,
be able to stream.
we're gonna
Can you
function.
imagine
No.
like what a clam of a human being I would have to be? And
Yeah,
I love it. I really do, and I listen to it a lot. But I
yeah,
like Tenacious D a lot too.
yeah.
That
That's
maybe
great. They're
that's like
fun. They're
joke
fun.
music, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If you like Tenacious D, I'm trying to get everybody on the Bill Bailey hype train. He's a British comedian who features a
Okay.
lot of music. I'll stick it in your Discord afterwards. I mean, he is. If for anybody who doesn't know, Bill Bailey spelled like
Okay.
this. He is a
EY.
British comedian that just features stupid music and plays about 7,000 instruments. He does Metallica for Whom the Bell
That's
Tolls
cool.
on air horns. He's that kind of person. Or
That's
car
fun.
horns,
That's
actually,
fun.
I think. Yeah, so that's the kind of
Okay. Okay.
yeah, that's the kind of thing it
Yeah.
is. Um,
Yeah.
you drive, am I correct?
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're driving a car, 11 o'clock at night, the road's empty, you're going through a tunnel. What song's on the radio or on the
Uh,
stereo?
so first of all, there are very few tunnels in Central Texas.
Okay, but you get the idea. You get the picture, right? If you've ever seen Perks of Being a Wallflower, that's the sort of moment.
Is it 11 or is it like 3? Is it really empty?
Well, okay,
Like, is
it's
there
empty.
no
There's no
one?
one. There's no one.
Okay, okay, okay. I mean, that's something I've actually done. Um, I think there's 2 different 3 a.m.s for me there. In one of them, I'm listening to like something very sedate. We're talking like we're listening to a jazz mix. We're talking like I'm
Elevator
listening
music.
to Noah, not even necessarily elevator music, just chill. Like I'm
Yeah.
listening to Noah Gunderson Family or
Oh yeah.
something,
Okay, so
something like
you're
this.
sedate and
Yeah, yeah.
you're cruising.
And in another, we are just cranking the tunes,
Yeah,
and this is
that's
definitely
the form I was thinking
at
of.
3 a.m. and
The
it's
3
like
a.m. and
System of a
vroom.
Down on loop.
Oh,
Yeah,
lovely.
absolutely,
System of a
absolutely. And you've
Down.
got to have both. You've got to
Yeah,
have both.
System of a Down. Brilliant shout.
Mm.
Moving on to movies. Do you watch many movies? You're a movie person?
I am so out of touch with movies. I like movies, but it's just one of these things to where, as I have been more constrained in past times, movies just got the axe. And it's not like I'm going to movie theaters very often, right?
No.
So I've never been
It's
good at keeping up with names of actors or with
no.
creators. I know that I like Quentin Tarantino movies. Pulp Fiction
Fantastic.
is one of my favorite movies.
Yeah,
Pan's Labyrinth probably is my favorite movie when
that
I'm
answers the
being
question. Yeah.
self-honest. But like, you can ask me as many movie questions as you
No,
want. And
that's the
I'll
main
do
one.
better than Bev.
That's the
I'll do
main
better
one.
than Bev.
What was your favorite film of all time? Pan's Labyrinth. Fantastic.
I think so. Sometimes I say Pulp Fiction, sometimes I say Pan's Labyrinth. I think that I appreciate Pan's Labyrinth more deeply
It's artistry, right?
just as an art piece.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But that Pulp Fiction hits so many marks, and
Yeah.
it's like it's very watchable and rewatchable, and it's a shared experience. I can talk to more people about watching that movie and what they saw in it than I can about Pan's Labyrinth. Pan's Labyrinth is a pretty popular
Yeah.
movie, right? But
Yeah, well, also,
I
I
think
think Pan's Labyrinth is more of a
yeah,
personal experience. I think Pulp Fiction
it
probably
is.
hits everybody in a relatively similar way. Pan's
Yeah,
Labyrinth,
yeah,
everybody experiences on their own. Um,
yeah, yeah.
so my question
Exactly.
for you, Mister Voiceover expert,
Okay.
if
I
you
am
could,
not.
if you
I'm
no,
not
I
a
know,
trained
but
voice
you do
actor.
so many voices. If you could
Mm.
play one character or be one that sort of or voice over a character in a film, what
Mm.
character would you like to have gone? Do you know what that was
A
me?
film that already exists,
Yeah.
and I'm playing a character, and I'm
Perhaps not as the actor. Perhaps you're the only the voice if you don't want to be facial.
sure. Okay, okay, I see what you're saying, but just like, what would you really enjoy?
Mm.
So actually, that's funny that you say that because I think that some of the characters with the most interesting voices are characters who aren't purely like, okay, here's a great example that comes to mind. Like Gollum is
Yeah.
this fantastic character in
Hmm.
film, and it's partly because it's not exactly a live actor,
Yeah.
right? And that's a little
Yeah.
weird because
I've
there
got a
is
note
actually
here
a
that
live
says
actor.
Gollum is my expected answer from you.
Really, really.
Yeah.
So I'm not necessarily going to.
I was
I'm
like
not.
Gollum brackets or Smorg. Um,
I like the characters to where I feel that people get more expressive when there's an animation between them
mhm.
and the face,
Yeah, I agree.
and they really play up the character more, and I really like that actually.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
So
still.
maybe it's Gollum.
Yeah, maybe it's Gollum. Good.
Maybe it's
Um,
maybe it's Gollum.
if you had to pick between Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings, or neither,
I'm Loader.
yeah,
I'm
good,
I'm I'm Loader. It
good.
was more so my partner, my wife, Bevan, wrote her thesis on the soundtracks of the Harry Potter movies in
Really?
college. Yeah, yeah, it's cool creative work.
Hmm.
And I really enjoyed the movies. I think for a lot of people and the books, a lot of people we grew up with them as kind of like that was the world we grew up with. But I also grew up with Lord of the Rings. Like I read that as a
Yeah.
kid. And I have always been really into fantasy, like high fantasy kind of
Mhm.
stuff.
Yeah.
And you know, a Harry Potter's strength, I think, is in the arc of character and character growth. The world building is fine, but it's not unparalleled. The
Yeah.
prose is certainly not unparalleled, and the story is far from unparalleled, right? Like,
Yeah.
not to call
No, no, but you've got
J.R.R.
to be a
Tolkien the greatest prosaic writer of all time because he basically wrote a textbook. I mean, particularly
yeah.
Silmarillion is like literally a
It
textbook,
is. It
right?
is.
Like,
I'm a huge fan of the world, but that
yeah.
book is dry.
Yeah, it was super dry. It's super dry. He was like he was the fantasy is history books kind
Yeah.
of
I
pick.
needed a
But
schedule
yeah,
to read that book.
I'm Middle Earth. I think
Yeah.
I'm Middle Earth,
Yeah. It's
and
a
that's
world and
nothing
a
to
half.
say. I always feel the need to note this, but like I have to kind of vocally condemn J.K. Rowling, and it's such
Mhm.
a bummer to have this piece that so many people grew up with and took solace in. And a lot of like queer folks, I think, really took solace in this world to where it's like, well, if you can be magic, like certainly I can belong there. And then it's
Yeah.
How we could have done better. We could have done
Yeah, I'm
better.
almost at the point now of removing this question purely on the basis that
Yeah.
we've had to sort of preface it with a, yeah, she's a problem, but the world is still the
But we
world.
grew up with
Yeah,
the
we
world, and
exactly.
that's the
And
thing. That's the thing.
you
I
know, I
was
mean, I could
watching.
20 years
Yeah.
ago, I'd be asking Star Wars or Star Trek. It's the same. It's the same emotional bond.
We just played One Shot on stream,
Yeah.
and I don't know if you have you played this game.
No, I've watched.
Okay, so One Shot is an old RPG Maker game, and it's one of these games. It was actually kind of a forebear in the space of games that are very like meta and fourth wall breaking.
Hmm.
So people make the comparison to Undertale. I think they're very different.
Yeah.
But without like going over spoiler, a a primary question that One Shot asks of you is at what point have you invested so much of yourself in a fiction and so much of yourself and your interactions in
Hmm.
a fake place in a
Yeah.
game that it becomes real, that it gains substance in some way because of your interaction with it. And you don't have to think very long to feel that that must be the case for the world of Harry Potter,
Oh,
right? Like we've
100%.
had such deep interactions with it as like a generation of
Mm.
people. And so I think it would be a disservice to delete that experience. Yeah.
There's a
We just
wonderful
have to have
stat.
nuance.
There's a wonderful stat out there that more people in Britain know which house they would belong to in Harry Potter than know which political party they'd vote for.
That's
Um,
awesome, man.
and it can't be true,
It's
but at the
kind of
same time,
dystopian,
it's
but it's
like
kind of great.
it's
Yeah.
fantastic. I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So on the note of movie worlds, if is
Mhm.
there a movie universe that you would like to be part of? Not necessarily in the story at all. You know, you could be a hermit sitting on the side of the road in the Shire, or you know,
Yeah.
sitting on a strange
Yeah.
planet in Star Wars.
Hmm. Yeah, I know that Steve-O's response was Star Wars, and I definitely appreciate how deeply he has gone into the world of Star Wars at this point. I just want to be with I just want to hang out with Banjo and Kazooie, dog.
That's a
Can I do
flippin'
that?
brilliant answer. Of course you
Can
can.
it be a
Of
game
course
place?
you
It's
can.
like the music, the scenes, like you hang out with some Jinjos, man. That
Yeah.
place is real rad, and it's never. In fairness, Banjo Tooie, they straight up kill someone, which is brutal. They just do
It's
that.
awful.
They
Yeah.
just kill the mole. They
Yeah.
just kill him.
Bye.
But aside from the one really dark spot on that story, it's mostly
Mm.
like, yeah, like we can hang out in this place.
God, I'd love to be part of the Elder Scrolls
What's the
world.
name of the mountain? What's the name of just the home area where Banjo lives? I'm spacing on that. I should know.
You've totally.
I know.
Yeah,
It
I'm
should
not
be.
gonna.
I should know this.
That should be
Yeah.
a name that's in my head, but it isn't.
Yeah.
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 Well, moving on to video games.
Mm.
Could you possibly pick a favorite game or game series of all time?
No, no, I
No.
can't. But I can always tier them. I like to give these. I like to give these impossibly frustrating answers to
No,
these
no.
questions because
No.
the idea
no,
is to
the
be
idea is to.
constrained.
Well, the idea is to show me who you are. So if
Right,
you're not a
right,
constrained
but
human, show me that you're not a constrained human. What game series
yeah,
would you
yeah, that's
tier?
fair. That's fair. No, but I do think that there's value in the kind of we put a bunch of artificial rails on this question to force you to analyze, right? Like
Yeah,
to
of
force
course,
you
of
into this
course.
framework. And inevitably, what I end up doing is just defining 10 different questions, which
That's
are
fine.
like, subset questions. And for
Value
games,
for
I feel the
money for
same
these
way.
people.
Like when you say best game of all time or favorite game of all time, well,
Hmm.
favorite game of all time in terms of pure investment and impact on me is World of Warcraft. There's no game in which I was more deeply invested
I
and
didn't
that
know
I
you'd ever played.
uh,
That's how did I miss that?
thousands of hours
That
because it
just went
happened before
whoo.
stream.
Yeah, but I mean,
I
you
had a
talk about
single
everything that has ever happened to you
yeah
on stream. How have
yeah
I missed that one?
no I had a single character in World of Warcraft with 110 days of logged in playtime, and
Yeah.
I had a suite of in-game capable characters, and that was a second account. I deleted my initial account, right? So I
Mhm.
played this game a lot and raided and guild managed and all these kinds of things, and it taught me a lot. It also taught me just how deeply into the rabbit hole I could go because when I was
Of
playing
course.
WoW, I wasn't doing other things.
No, I
Like
wasn't.
my
I'm not.
summer
You're
was
not human,
WoW,
are you?
you
Yeah.
know? Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But then, like more recently, how could I not name Slay the Spire? Like
Mm.
definitive to me into my stream. It's a game that has given me so much growth, so much laughter, growth like personally in terms of my own learning, but also growth in terms of the
Yeah.
stream, right?
I mean,
I
it's
think
given you
it's
a
a
career.
really yeah,
It's crazy.
it really
Yeah.
was a linchpin of growth for the stream and for the career. Not to say that there haven't been other things
Mm.
involved.
Yeah.
Um, so what other games? I've talked about this before.
Well, I mean, if I tell you what, I'm going to ask you some more
Those are
questions
good. Sure,
that will
sure.
lead you
Yeah,
down
but
these holes.
those are two
So,
big ones, and
yep.
there's many, many more.
So, is
Banjo
there
Kazooie
a
as a kid.
well? Okay, that answers that question. I was about to say
Mhm.
favorite game you remember from your childhood. Um,
Yeah, I played that one with my mom, and so I think that was really
oh,
special.
wicked.
I grew up with Pokemon and stuff too. I talked about this at length in Origins Tour last year, which those highlights should still
Mm, yeah, they're
exist.
available.
Mhm.
Um, is there a game that you wish was remade currently? That a new remake of an older game. Maybe only a remaster, maybe only a graphics update, or a
Jack and
huge remaster.
Daxter.
What's Jack and Daxter?
Um,
I've never heard of that.
Jack and Daxter was a PlayStation 2 platformer. And then there was Jack 2 where they were like, what if this cutesy platformer except now it's GTA?
Oh, yeah,
It's
no.
so
I've
strange.
never heard of
I
Jack
really
and
loved
Daxter
those
at all.
games though. Yeah. That game needs a remake. But I keep saying Banjo and Kazooie, but man, I would love to see that
That
world, that game get remade and then that world get further explored because having played back through Banjo fairly recently, it would so benefit from a modern coat
mm,
of polish and of just like good responsive camera work if nothing else because it certainly has the crust of old
yeah.
3D platformers. The crust is there.
Just a shout out, by the way. It's Mumbo's Mountain.
Mumbo's
That's
Mountain,
yeah.
thank
There
you.
you go. Thank you, Jerome.
Yeah, yeah.
And the Origin tour is still available. Dog Mum said that's why she started highlighting,
Mm,
um,
mm.
so she remembers it well.
Thank you,
Um,
dog mom.
what do you think is your best trait as a video gamer? Now, I don't mean this in sort of a streaming sense. I mean purely what allows you to be good at X game or Y game.
Enjoying loss, enjoying losing.
Hmm. That's yeah. That's really. I mean, it works.
That that
Yeah,
that's it. If we're
it's what
talking about
allows you
being
to do
good at
rogueliking,
games,
right?
well,
Rogueliking?
in general, I think
Mhm.
um, it is hard to be a really competitive player or competitive at anything without internalizing loss in some form. Imagine trying to be one of the best, competitive Overwatch players or best
Yep.
competitive Rocket League players or something and crumbling every time you lose and like just
Mm.
being emotionally set back every time you lose. You'll be so inefficient. And it's not to say that every pro athlete is the best sport ever, right? But yeah, I think that you have to be good at defining your own success criteria and finding small victories along the way and not fixating on game level winning and losing and that's probably it.
You said you enjoy losing. I find that really interesting. Is that
Yeah,
I'm going to differentiate that from a lot of professional gamers would say that they hate losing because they're highly competitive, and what they
yeah,
enjoy is
yeah,
the
and that's
journey.
cool. And they're killing themselves.
Yeah, oh, well, possibly yes.
There's
Um,
so many incredible athletes and incredible gamers who are just like chipping away at their own life force. They're
so
a
it is for you
limited
enjoying
resource.
losing, not enjoying the
They are a
journey.
repleting, non-refunding resource, and they are purely sustained on piss and vinegar. And when they crash, it's gonna be a
It
disaster,
always
and that's
is.
true
Yeah,
for all of
it
them.
is true for all of
Yeah,
them. Yeah.
yeah, and to a certain extent, like I think that those people who are just competitive out of their mind do end up being these like flares, these bursts of really
Mm.
incredible performance. But it's the Messis who play competitive soccer for like 60 years, right? These
Yeah.
kinds of people who are just really in it for the game and for the connection and for the passing and for the growth, right? And so,
And I'm sure they
yeah,
prefer
that's
winning to losing, but they do enjoy the journey
everybody
regardless.
does. That's the
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, of
That's what
course.
this is the lack of clarity that I see some people have, and they're like, haha, so you just like to lose, huh? You probably do that a lot. And it's like, okay, well, you missed the mark completely.
Yeah.
And
I
it's
just thought
clear
I'd
to you that
open
you
you
don't
up to
understand what I'm
clarify that.
saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Now, on the video game notes, I have to ask.
Hmm.
I woke up 3.5 hours late the other day at sort of 2:30 in the afternoon, and
Okay.
I logged
That's
onto
when I wake up.
Twitch to No, it's not. I logged onto Twitch to see what was going on, and you were 14 hours into a Loop Hero stream.
Yeah, yeah, I did. I
Now,
did. I did
I've
15 hours of
watched
loop recently.
sort of 6 hours
Yeah.
of catch up, and I still have absolutely no idea what this game is, what it's about, or why it exists, or
Oh, it's
what it is. Can you
It's
enlighten us?
so
What is
simple.
Loop Hero?
Yeah, 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 yeah. And this is one part about my job that I really like, which is helping to find the grounding element for people to
Mhm.
understand games, making games more accessible. in the sense of accessibility, in the sense of can I enjoy this if I'm vision impaired or if I'm hearing impaired, or right? But accessibility just in the sense of being able to gain access to what is happening in the game and to
Yep.
enjoy it collaboratively,
Hmm.
right? Is like a primary driver for me and a primary joy for me as a creator. Loop Hero looks complex because I make every game I play look complex. It's like
Yeah. Okay. I'll give you that.
we're always almost losing, you know, it's like I get really into it. But Loop Hero is fundamentally very simple. It is almost a deconstructed rogue where what the question the developer has asked is, what if the micro, right, the combat, the card selection as you play a turn in Slay the Spire, or the individual pew pew in Risk of Rain 2, what if the micro resolved itself? All of the fights happen,
Mm-hmm.
and what you do is you manage the macro of constructing the dungeon.
Yeah.
That's Loop Hero.
Okay.
That's what you do. As you're running through literal loops of this rogue, you are placing down tiles which will define the kind of encounters that you have and define the kind of effects that your character has, and then that affects the total difficulty and your total scaling rate. And then you just
Right.
cycle your gear around.
Because after
It's
six
ultimately a
hours, I
very
thought it
simple
was a
game.
tower defense game.
That's kind of funny because it feels that way
It
because
looks
when
that
you're
way.
placing tiles, it feels that way. But who are you defending against yourself?
Yeah,
So
exactly. That's what I
that's
was.
kind of what I
That's
like.
where I lost it. I was like, he's
Well,
defending
that's
a
the core
tower, but there's
tension,
no
right? Is
tower.
that you want to make it hard on your character, but not so hard that you die.
Yeah.
So it kind of is a tower defense. If you were playing Bloons and what Bloons asked you was, I want you to just let one Bloon leak every level,
Yeah.
not kill all the Bloons, but like I just want you to just leak a little bit.
Yeah.
That's Loop Hero.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. That was a
Yeah, you're
that was
welcome.
just one for me. Right.
Yeah,
Let's
it's a
start.
great game. Once you have that grounding, you go back and you're like, okay, so you're just shuffling a lot of gear and you're futzing over which tile you can place and where and how aggressive you can be. Like ultimately, the game is
And
simple.
it is now on full release. Is that correct?
It
Because when you
is. It
first
is
started
full
playing it,
release.
it wasn't, or it was had just
That's
been.
right.
Yeah.
I was able to play the full release early, so I had access
Mm.
to the whole game
Right. You had full
a
release,
few
but we
weeks.
didn't. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, but then 2 days
Oh, what a
before the full
joy.
release. Yeah, it was really cool. That's why I streamed that long. Is I was like, huh, maybe I can beat the game before it comes out because I had 2 days. I had
Of
two
course,
days before
of
full
course,
release.
that was the goal.
Yeah,
Can I defy logic? Yes.
we almost did. We got really
Yeah.
close. Like there's a world where we did because there was a randomness element in the end. So there's a universe or a set of them in which we beat the game, and I think we would be the only people who did so while also streaming it during that two
Yeah.
days.
Yeah. Of course.
There were people who beat the game before release, but they were like making YouTube content.
And
They
they
were
also
they were
weren't trying to
secret.
talk to people. Yeah, that sort of delays you a little bit
Maybe
in
they
your
were.
game playing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah.
So it's a little bit harder now. Desert island. You're stranded on a desert island. You cannot rescue yourself. You can't get the ability to replicate things over and over again. You can't communicate. But you can take a few things.
Okay.
First of all, is one possession, one material possession. No electronics are going to work, so just a simple material possession.
Am I going to die?
Well, eventually. I mean, humans do.
Okay, but like I'm expected to live out the rest of my
Yeah.
natural years on this
You're
desert
Long John
island,
Silver with no bottles.
and I'm trapped there forever, or will I eventually be saved?
We don't know. We don't know.
We
But
don't
you've
we
got
don't know. Okay.
no. But you're gonna do at least a few years there. Um,
Okay. And
Ship's wrecked. Somebody will discover you eventually. But for now, you've got one
like
possession.
like if I bring a Kindle, like if I bring in
Well,
be...
I mean, if you bring a Kindle, it's gonna stop me from asking my next question. So no, you can't have one of those.
What? Okay.
Just as I mean, it could be as simple as a drawing pad
It's
and a
just
pen, or as
just a
complicated as
knickknack then,
a
huh?
jumper, or
Okay.
a memoir, or.
Okay. I'm a very practical person, I think, most of the time, and so I'm trying to think about like what I interact with daily that I would really want. The desert island is interesting because you have this, ooh, Dunda. You have this additional constraint, which is like you're going to need more support. So some of the practical items are important, but like, do I want to bring a Kevin? Do I want to bring my grandfather's hat? Something with a bit of like emotional, nostalgic value
That's
as
what I'm
a
digging at. Yeah.
like a grounding kind of
Yeah,
element.
that's what I'm digging at. We'll assume that you
That
have all the tools to survive on the island.
that that would be a good one. Um, There's that long sleeve, actually that 10,000 Days T-shirt that I have. I would consider bringing my grandfather's hat. I would consider bringing. I'm not very good at picking one of,
Well, you
but
can be
those are.
wearing the t-shirt and hat when you end up on the
There
desert
you
island,
go.
and then all you
There's
have to take with you is Kevin.
yeah, yeah, and then Kevin comes too. Yeah, perfect, perfect, good.
One music album.
To go with me
Yeah, I mean,
to
obviously,
this place.
this is in a magical
Oh
world where you
God.
stick it to your ear and it just plays. Just
Oh,
the one album.
Bob Marley Gold.
What a wonderful choice. That has
Yeah,
got
I'm
every
gonna be on this
emotion
island for
on
a
the
while. It's not
planet.
Tool.
No,
Yeah, yeah, I can't.
that album has every emotion on the planet
Yeah,
on it.
yeah, yeah. It's also like my savior album. I'll
Oh
tell
yeah,
that story later if there's time.
there's always time.
Mhm.
I'm intrigued now, but I'll move onwards quickly. One book.
One book?
Yeah,
What?
there's a
What do you even?
challenge.
I've never reread a
I
book
will allow
in
you
my
to have
life.
a seat. Really?
Hmm.
That's incredible. What a
Hmm.
brilliant
I read
stat.
like quite slowly, actually.
Well, I
Yeah,
mean,
I'm
even
very
so, like,
ADHD.
even so, I mean,
Yeah.
just to have never reread a book. Have you listened to a book you've previously read on audiobook?
No.
Oh, you see, I'm a
No.
sucker for rereading books. Okay, well, one book you
There's a lot
remember
of joy
reading
there, I
that,
think,
yeah.
and I actually I understand it conceptually, right? Like that
Well,
on
it's
the
just
second
really
play.
financially viable. Uh,
It's super financially
that's
viable. On the second
my
play,
logic with
you're
it.
seeing things in a new light because now you know what happens in the story
Mm,
and it's comfortable. There's
yeah,
less of a feeling of am I
it's a
missing things because you've
familiarity.
already read it. Yeah, it's a familiarity thing. It's like
Revisiting
rewatching a
family.
show. But
Yeah.
I've never reread a book, and
Well,
so
here's your chance. Or are you taking a book you've never
I'm
read?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, the next book that I was planning to read is City of Brass, which is what's
I've
the
not heard
name?
of that.
Shok Chakraborty. It's a fantasy novel. That's next up on my
Mm.
docket. I just finished the current books released for Stormlight Archives, which is Brandon Sanderson.
Yeah, they're phenomenal. I
It's good.
love Brandon Sanderson. He's got so many good books. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's I find that really interesting. I had you down as somebody who reads
Mhm.
quite a lot, but to have
I do.
not reread anything is, I mean, that's just a
In
wonderful
bursts.
fact. Um,
I tend to remember the books decently well too. So I think of I'm always looking to, view everything in a balanced light if I
mhm.
can. And the downside for me is that being as I am so ADHD, I read quite slowly and I read in this very strange way where I will like reread reread. I'm just picking.
Reread.
I'll reread the same sentence or the same page lots of times.
Hmm.
It's like almost like I finish the paragraph and I don't trust that I read it or remembered it, and so I go back and read it.
Yep.
And then suddenly I'll get into a groove and I'll start accelerating and I'll be like, I just read 10 pages, and then I'll go back and read all of those again. And it takes me a couple hours to like really get into the mode of
Sounds like
reading.
a
And then once I
fight.
am transitioned, it's more consistent, but yeah, I'm like the
Sounds like a
weirdest
fight.
reader.
Okay, I
It
mean,
is a
because
fight.
I read.
It's a battle with knowledge. That's right, every
Yeah,
day.
I
Yeah.
read through a Kindle on my phone, which
Okay.
is very bad for your eyes, so don't do it. But I do.
I like the paper
Um,
white. I have
I
the bigger
love
one, and it's
paper
really nice.
books, and I
Yeah.
love the big Kindle. But
Oh no, the
frankly,
paper white
yeah, no,
Kindle.
I know. I mean, I
The
have it on
yeah.
my iPad.
Okay.
Before that, I had a paperwhite Kindle, which was
Hmm.
phenomenal.
It's
But
actually Bevan's, by the way. I've actually never.
I have
My
stolen
friends have
this.
made fun of me for never. This is mine now.
Yes.
This is yours.
But yeah, I read on a phone, and
Okay.
majority of the time I read 6 to 8 pages in the
Hmm.
space of about 3 to 5 minutes. I read while sitting on the toilet. I read while waiting for somebody to come out
Right.
from from an appointment. I read while waiting for my mother to finish her damn sentence. You know,
Yeah.
that's my little reading, and that's why I tend to read things I've already read, because when you read in
Yeah.
6 page installations, you need to know
Yeah.
what's happening. Otherwise, you'll pick it up 3 days later and go, oh, bloody hell, let's start again.
So I'll spend an hour and a half reading the same 5 pages, and then I will stay up all night and read the whole book up until
Yeah,
9 a.m. and just skip a night of sleep.
that was me as a
And
kid.
that's
Yeah,
that's
discovering
very
it.
much yeah. That's but this is me with a lot of things actually. Ultimately,
Yeah.
is that I'm very bursty. I'm very bingy. And like when I am able to finally focus in on something or even hyper focus on something, it's like a gift.
Yeah.
And so I just do it.
Yeah, you take it, run with it.
Yeah, and then you play 15 hours of Loop Hero.
Fair enough.
That's right.
One person on this desert island. Now we've had answers from Bear Grylls to
It's Bevan.
it's Bevan.
I'm
Okay.
gonna I'm gonna bring Bevan. Yeah, I think that's
Um,
an easy one.
Well, I mean, we had somebody who was trying to work out how large a person they could take to eat without being killed. We had
That's
somebody
a
else
joke
taking
answer.
Well, I mean, that was his logic.
You've
He was
already
like, I want to
guaranteed that I'll
survive.
live out the rest of my natural days. That's just cannibalism for the sake of saying that you want to do
We
cannibalism.
had
You
somebody
can't do
taking.
murder. It's not a pastime. Yeah, we're sticking to this thing.
We've
Yeah.
taken Angelina Jolie, Bear Grylls, and best
Mm.
friends and wives. But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, Bevan seems to be the completion of.
I think every other answer would be insincere.
Yeah.
Not to say that it's not fun to think like, oh yeah, it would be fun to hang out with Flea on my
Yeah.
desert island, but this is not a carnival cruise
No.
where I'm stuck on this desert
Exactly.
island forever. I need a good partner,
Yeah.
someone who like is grounding and is more structured than me, and like yeah. So I've already done
Would she
that
be any
journey.
good
I've
on a
already
desert
found that.
island?
Yeah, she's good at everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean,
She's very cool under
some people are
pressure.
wonderful human beings, but would be an absolute mess in a desert island situation. I'm one of them.
No, and trust me, I have exes who would just
Mhm.
collapse
Yeah.
in the but Bevan is very cool under pressure,
Yeah,
which
she's very head
is a
screwed on, isn't she?
trait that I appreciate a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of grew up with a person who freaks out over spilled milk kind of
Mhm.
thing, but is super cool when like we need to amputate a limb.
Oh, that is so
Basically,
me.
like that's
That is so me. Yeah. I
but
can
that's
do
so good.
small
To me, that makes
disasters
more
are
sense.
massive disasters, but large
Yeah.
disaster is like, right, get your head screwed on. You have to be useful here.
Waste your emotional energy on things that don't matter because they don't matter. Like that means you're in a low pressure situation. So go nuts. Yeah. I really need the Vikings to win. And it's important to me
It
deeply and
is,
emotionally.
you know.
Yeah.
I chat questions are usually for the end, but I have to ask this: Is
Mhm.
Junior good under pressure? Says Drago's Love.
Yes, actually, he's great.
Yeah.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah,
Good.
the dog is incredible. Actually, I'm kind of sneaking away right now. Ellen knows this, but my dog Junior and my family dog Griffin, a corgi, are both here right now because my family went on a vacation and we're dog sitting for them for a week. And it has been chaos for the first 24 hours because Junior's very, very, very excited about a dog in his space and wants to play. But Griffin is older and like pretty low key.
Yeah.
And so Griffin's like, I'm just trying to chill and check out this new space. And Junior is like, why are you not sprinting right
Yeah.
now?
Well, he
And
might be a
so
good
I'm kind
influence.
of but the thing is even in situations like that, consider this dog is 4 months old.
Mhm.
He's never had another dog in his space. This has just been him since we've had him. He's very adaptable, and like when I need him to recall, when I need him to do something, he's very well mannered, and that's not something I expect of a puppy his age.
No.
That's something you see in like 9 months, 18 months kind of situation. So he's
It's
great.
owner learnership. So here is Teague on a desert island, wearing his hat, his long sleeve top, with his Kev in hand, his Bob
That's
Marley
right.
gold,
And otherwise
um,
naked, I'm sure. It's
his
just
any
like
book that he
waist
hasn't
down.
read right now, possibly something about brass. What was the exact name?
Yeah,
Can you
City of
remind me?
Brass.
City of Brass.
Yeah.
He's with Bevan. What do you miss the most?
A lot of things. I'm a very social person,
Mhm.
so I would say that what I miss the most is my friends and family.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, I can't make contact, right?
Yeah.
I've defined my life around this. Like I talked recently in a stream about gaining perspective on what matters most.
Mhm.
Starting to see that not everything is the most important thing and to establish a spectrum of
Yeah.
a relative scale of what matters. And for me, the top of the scale has always been friends and family, which
Yeah.
sounds very cliched, but I think that this
No,
means
I
different
don't
things
think
for
it is.
different people. Like for my mom, we call my mom an atoll. She's not an island, but she's part of a small chain of islands. She doesn't
Yeah.
need a lot of friends. She needs one or two friends,
That's me.
and she has a pretty low key a relationship with them. But I need like a lot of social and emotional engagement, a lot of friends, a lot of family, and I've kind of defined my life around being accessible to them. Honestly, the last 3 years have been the least available that I've been
Of course.
because of stream,
Mm.
which is probably the other thing that I would miss. But
Yeah.
after friends and family, for sure.
No, I mean for me, I could quite happily have Josh as my only other, my
Mhm.
husband as my only other social
Yeah,
interaction, and
yeah,
I could live for years like that. I would miss my friends. Don't get me wrong, but
right,
I sure
right.
as hell would miss food more.
It's oh, really.
Yeah, I mean, like they are coming below food, below music, and that's truly for me what I would miss the most is music because I couldn't live without
Well,
it.
start making your
Yeah.
sweet island cuisine,
Yeah.
man.
So nitty gritty.
There's some
Let's talk about
coconuts out
you
there.
as a streamer, as
Okay.
Sneakyteak, resident broadcaster. I've always wanted to say that.
Yeah,
I will
resident
actually.
broadcast personality, that's
Yeah,
right.
I will actually.
You
take
can
the,
say it. You can
I
say my
no,
whole
I will
intro. You
later.
probably
I've
know
got it. I've got it. I'm ready for it. So why did you become a streamer? Not a professional streamer. Why did you go live for the very first time? What made you pursue that?
I needed a creative outlet. My vision has expanded and clarified immensely in 3 years, and actually immensely in the first 2 weeks. And that was part of what made it so incredible. And that's part of what proved to me that it was accomplishing the goal that I needed to achieve, which was a creative outlet. I was working a full-time tech job, and when I first started the job, I felt that I had a lot of space to like engage with the softer part of the job.
Hmm.
So yeah, I was writing code and I was helping plan projects and architecture, but I was also, helping manage like new hire events and to help. I used to run a thing that was called Boot Camp Walking Tour, which was intended to be um, the goal, as I stated it, was to lower the perceived barrier to social interaction as the company grew. Right. So I
Okay.
wanted to maintain this culture to where, people could engage with each other and still felt part of a whole and part of the interaction as the company like surpassed Dunbar number or whatever, right? Um, and so that was really cool. But as I got deeper and deeper into my career, I felt that I had less and less time and space for that. And I started
Yeah.
to be, like, frankly, a little bit jaded in that to me, those tasks I always saw as the most important.
Hmm.
Code is just a thing that needed to happen.
Yeah.
And so I kind of
And it's
woke
also
up
less
one day and I was
individual,
like,
right? Anybody
yeah, yeah,
technically
yeah.
who's qualified can do the code, but
Not to say the
you
job
can
was
put your
easy.
but you can
You
put your
gotta
stamp on the
write the
other side,
code.
right?
Yeah, yeah. And so I had already switched from being an engineer to being a product manager, which was
Hmm.
was nice. I think that ultimately felt like a more well-rounded role for me. But I kind of woke up one week and I had been watching Twitch a bit. And I'm a pretty new Twitch watcher, by the way. I like really started watching Twitch only a couple months before I started streaming.
Yeah.
Um, and I just woke up and I was like, I need a creative outlet. Like I have to make something that is purely creative, and so I chose to stream. I ordered a microphone and I went live on a Friday. Yeah.
Yeah. That's fantastic. What makes you a good streamer? Why should people watch you? Why should people
Well,
come to
I,
your channel?
I I should ask you the same. Why am I here? Why did
Um,
why did you moderate for me? Why do you like my stream?
I've got a section later on where I'm going to talk all about why I like your stream,
Oh,
but
okay.
I'm not going
Okay.
to give you the answers. Why?
Okay.
why are you a good streamer? What is good
Well,
about Sneakyteak?
I don't want to be self-aggrandizing, but I also always want to encourage people to be
This is your short
honest about their
moment to,
strengths.
yeah,
Yeah, we
to
we
enjoy you.
romanticize humility to the point to
Mm,
where it's actually self-defeating.
yeah.
Like I think people should be willing and able to recognize their strengths and talk about them. And I think there are many things that make me fit for the job. Actually, one of the cool things about streaming, I talked about being super ADHD, is that ADHD becomes a superpower when you're streaming.
Hmm.
And that's always been a thing that I've considered in my life is how do I take my 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 conscious reality, right?
Yeah.
My mental wiring and align my job with that to where the way that I work is a strength and not a weakness.
Mm.
Because a typical office job, my neurological reality is a weakness. It's
Yeah.
hard,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Yeah. And so honestly, that's a very kind of logistical one is that the way I'm wired works really well
Hmm.
for streaming. Um I think that the content that I make works because my joy for the games is genuine. And I think that that's a strength in the primary content offering, which is that I don't have to play it up. It's not hard for me to find a game and to enjoy playing it. And I
Hmm.
think that that speaks to a lot of people, just genuine enjoyment of a game. It sounds so simple, but it's such a core part
Mm.
of the content, right? But on a higher level, especially now, we talked about getting started streaming, and that was for a creative outlet. But my vision today is much larger than it used to be. You've heard me say I want to make the most open, inclusive, and accessible stream on the internet, a place where anyone can belong. And that's my vision. It's a lifetime and unrealizable goal.
Yeah.
That's what makes a vision cool, is that you're always striving for it, but you never really get there. And I do think that I am in a place to at least advance toward that goal, in part because I'm able to read text and see people behind it.
Yeah.
And that I'm able to empathize pretty eagerly.
Hmm.
It also makes it hard, and it means that I have to be really careful to compartmentalize and not emotionally overtax myself
Of
with the
course.
job.
Yeah.
But I think it puts me in a position to invite people into the space and to make people feel safe, um, and to just like manage the community better because I see people behind the screen.
I think that's very true. I think all of that's very true, actually. This might be a hard one to pick a
Hmm.
particular one. But if you've got a
Okay.
favorite moment or a couple of moments of your streaming career so far, This can be as simple as a milestone or a funny thing that happened or something that was emotionally rewarding.
Oh, favorite moments, man. They're so much fun.
Mm,
Like, you can just go to my clips actually and see a lot of favorite moments, because part of what makes what's the difference between a favorite moment in a game and a favorite moment streaming a game? It's the shared experience, right? It's the social
yeah,
experience, like with World of Warcraft. And so my favorite moments are those moments that that like we kind of all enjoyed and
mhm,
took solace or took like elation out of, right? So it's like, finally defeating the Dark Souls boss together,
yeah,
or having the mummified hand drop back to back with the other thing and slay the spire. There's countless slay the spire moments to where I like basically fell out of my chair because of how ridiculous the chain of events was that was happening. But and so this is not the question that you asked, but I think maybe it's an answer that you'll like. Truthfully, I've talked about this on stream. I'm not good at recalling specific events.
yeah,
Just generally as a person, and I actually really think it's cool when other people are good at concretely recalling a specific instance, a specific story. I kind of remember things in shapes and colors a lot
yeah,
of the time. And so it's actually incredibly hard for me, even though if you asked me about a specific conversation or you pointed to a stream, I could probably recall.
yeah.
It's very hard for me to, in a vacuum, remember a moment or a stream
Yeah,
without
I more
having
wondered
some
whether there was a
prompting.
particular moment where you had an emotional attachment to.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, a lot.
but
Origin
sometimes
Store.
some people don't. Yeah, the
There,
Origin Store.
actually, here's a good direct answer. Origin Store was fantastic, and actually, when I there every once in a while, yeah, I'm a pretty transparent streamer, but every once in a while, there's something that I don't talk about in the moment, or just because I'm not sure how to address it. When I introed Banjo and Kazooie, and then we let the trailer play afterwards, I
Sorry, can
turned
I
off my
hold
camera
you
and my
for
mic.
2 seconds, Tick?
Yeah,
Can you
sure,
just
sure.
for the benefit of those who don't know what it is, explain what the Origins tour was?
Of
Yeah.
course, and I'm sorry that I didn't.
No,
So
that's all right.
so every once in a while, I run like an event stream or an event set of streams. And I always had this goal from fairly early on with streaming to run a stream series focused around like the games of my childhood that defined me, right?
Yeah.
As a gamer, right? And
Yeah.
I don't want to make it out to be like I am who I am because I played Banjo and Kazooie, but it was meaningful to me as
I
a kid,
wish
right?
I was who I am because I played
I
Banjo
I know,
Kazooie.
like
That'd be
yeah,
a
yeah,
wonderful
I'm a
person.
banjo
But yeah.
extraordinaire now, yeah. Um, and so that was the goal, was a week of games that were glimpses into games that I remember playing and that were
Mhm.
important to me. And so it was like N64 classics that I really loved, and it was Game Boy classics that I really
Yeah.
loved, and it was like things I played on the PC, like we played Ski Free, we played Chex Quest. And so it was a cool series of streams, and my goal was to not only play the games but to try to craft a narrative out of it,
Yeah.
to describe why the games were meaningful and like what kind of stage of my life they were kind of ensconced in, I guess.
Mhm.
And when I gave the intro to Banjo and Kazooie and talked about that game and talked about playing it with my mom, and then cut the mic and played the intro to the game, I cut my camera and I sobbed. Like
Mm.
I cried just relentlessly
Yeah.
for a couple minutes while it played, and then I came back on. And I didn't talk about it at the time because I didn't want for some people for that to like flatten the
Mhm.
experience or to put like a sombering element on it, sobering element, because I was really excited to be there and to share it. But I've had a couple moments like that on stream to where it's like, "Ooh," I just gut punched
Yeah.
myself.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, and it
and I
was. I
didn't
mean,
expect it.
the Origins tour for me as well was,
Hmm.
in so many ways, not only a nostalgia trip but also an emotional journey. It was an emotional
Yeah,
journey in its own way. You had to see behind
yeah,
the words sometimes. You didn't always go into the detail of why it's emotionally attached to you, but it
yep,
was there.
yep,
And I think it.
yeah.
Yeah. So no, I've really really enjoyed that answer.
Thanks for
Um,
helping me get there, because I wouldn't have
that's
remembered
all
it
right.
right away, but it's the answer. Yeah.
Um, you focus very, very heavily on having the right type of community, having
Mm.
the type of community that you wish to create.
Hmm.
I don't want to look into the moderation side of things. I think that's something that you struggle sometimes to keep
I
keep shorter. So we're not going to go into the details of that.
yeah,
But is it fair to
I
say that the
I can't
community
help
is the
it.
center point of your stream? It's not
I think
about video games as much as it is about the community.
this is like the most egotistical sounding answer, but I think I'm the center point of the stream, and
Oh,
I think that's
100%.
important,
Yeah.
actually. Yeah, I think that's part of what makes Twitch unique in a space of pseudonymous digital spaces is that you do actually have a visible focal point. You
Yeah.
have a human being whose facial reactions you can see and who can lead and course correct, right? So
Let me
yeah.
rephrase the question for what I meant. Is it the
Mhm.
center point for you? Like when you're looking at your stream,
Yeah, I always say games are
it's the
my
community.
canvas.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like games. And I remember being at my old job and talking about what game should I play? Is it this or that or the other thing? Um, and I would get this answer that's like, why don't you just play what you want to play? If you don't stream, you don't know how baffling of a thing to say this is. I'm always playing what I want to play. I cannot imagine anyone playing a game at any length that they don't want to play. And like I don't think that person really exists. If you can go find me a real
It's
successful
me,
career
I'm afraid.
streamer, how like
Because
okay, but
one
are you
Sunday a
making a
week.
living on streaming? Are
Uh,
you making a living on streaming?
Somewhat, yes. But
You're working on
my
it. I don't
my
mean that to minimize.
no, my point is it's 1 2 hour stream a week, and the viewer chooses
Okay.
the game, not me.
So I think
So
that's a
there's a
little different. I'm saying
chance.
like
Yeah, no, of course.
imagine
Anybody who
this. Imagine
mainstreams a game they hate is just an imbecile.
right.
Yeah.
Imagine like I hate Fortnite, but I think this is going to grow my stream and I'm going to play
Yeah.
nothing but Fortnite for 2 years. You
Yeah. No, you
cannot
can't
do it.
You can't
You
live like
will
that.
burn out. You will fail. So I only play games I like.
Yeah.
But I like a lot of games. Like I can enjoy lots of different games, right? Yeah.
So in terms of the community, this is sort of
Mm.
the nuts and bolts of the question. Did the community turn into what it is? How do I phrase it? Did it turn into what it is, and then you realized exactly what you wanted it to be and continued from there? Or was the end point goal always present? Did you start your streaming career going, hey, I want to make the, as you say, most inclusive, most welcoming, most open community there
On
is?
day one, I just wanted a creative outlet. I
Yep.
knew that I enjoyed games and I knew that I could articulate thoughts, ideas, strategies about games,
Mhm.
about complex things in games. Not to say that I was playing Darkest Dungeon on day one. That was actually day 3. Day 1 and day 2 were Battle Right, which was like League of Legends
It's
except only the team
fantastic, but
fights. I
nobody's
actually
there
really liked the
anymore.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's super dead, but and so that was it. I was just like I know that I can broadcast over a game and that I can probably find a way to do things that I enjoy and that I'm proud of and that other people enjoy too. But by day 10, I did know. And it's always
Yeah.
been my goal to grow by design. I think that there's a ton of streamers who have these great ideas about what they would like to happen in their chat room, but it's so far gone already that they struggle to figure out how to course correct.
Yeah.
That they, in their growth or their hyper growth, they have stumbled on a set of interactions, a set of behaviors, a set of culture on accident instead of on purpose. And that recovering from that is very difficult. Actually, early on in my stream, I talked about this sometimes, but after beating Dark Souls 3
Mhm.
on stream, I felt that the community was uncomfortably large in like the mid 20s. Okay. At the time, I definitely felt that there were interactions that were happening that I wasn't fully in control of. I
Mhm.
wasn't sure about how I was supposed to manage and moderate, and I didn't think that the core foundation of viewers was well established enough to kind of be self-defending. And
Yeah.
so I played a game on purpose, hoping that it would be slightly less popular. And I played Hollow Knight, and for me, it was less popular. Like my numbers went down when I played that game, but I felt that it gave us a chance to solidify the core.
Yeah.
And so that's always something I'm thinking about.
Yeah. I mean, for you, it's always been quality over quantity, of course.
Mhm.
But yeah, I was just very interested as whether that was sort of something that happened on accident at first by virtue of you being such an open, welcoming human being, and then you created it
That's a
from
good
there.
question. How much of it was, oh, this is something that I want versus, oh, this is something I'm seeing and I think I can do it?
Yeah.
Both.
Both,
I
right,
I
okay.
do think there were some interactions within the first couple weeks where I was like, oh, you know what? There's a purposefulness to this. You know,
Mhm.
I can this space has meaning in a way that I didn't initially consider. I
Yeah.
was just thinking about playing games for people.
Just to
Yeah.
expand briefly for anybody who hasn't, for some odd reason, seen Sneakyteak stream, Teak has one of the most expansive lists of rules that I've ever seen, and yet they are so very flipping simple.
It's
They
it's
are
not even
so
really
simple.
full
It's just
encompassing.
it's just a lot of words.
I need more.
But
Yeah.
it realistically boils down to one
Yeah.
simple thing: don't be a detriment.
Yeah.
In any way, don't be a detriment. Don't be a detriment to
Yeah.
the streamer. Don't be a detriment to anyone else. Just
Yeah.
be a positive contribution. And
Yeah. Or don't speak, which is
yeah, or don't
fine.
speak, which is great.
You can
We
think
like don't
whatever
speak.
you want in your
Yeah.
own head. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
More people could do that, and it
Mm,
would probably be good for Twitch. If I could add a rule to where you have to view my stream for, say 4 hours before
mm,
you're allowed to engage in chat, that would be so much better than followers only mode.
yeah,
And I know that even then there will be people that are like, but I want to stumble into a new stream and immediately start interacting with the
yeah.
chat,
Say hi.
which is
Yeah.
cool, but I think that it's antagonistic to my goal. Like I
Mm,
think people need to listen for a while to understand the space.
yeah.
So I would turn that on in a heartbeat. I don't know why it's not a feature.
Yeah. It is a strange one actually. That is well, I
Mhm.
suppose because Twitch perhaps perceives it as something that would lower the. I mean, somebody's
Yeah.
already said, I wouldn't have stuck around because some people need to say hi. In fact, you know
And
what?
and I
I
know a
probably
lot
wouldn't have
of
stuck around. I
I
need to
know a
come in
lot
and
of
say
great
hi and
people.
then shut up. I just want to say hi.
That would be a fine feature. Yeah.
Yeah.
For what it's worth for you and for Dragoslov and for other people, there are a lot of people in my community who are great, who I know wouldn't have stuck around.
Mm,
And I would still enable this rule
yeah.
because in the long run, I think that it will be much more sustainable for me
Mm,
and much more safe for the community to ask people, if you want to engage in this space, if you think there's something good about this space, listen for a while.
mm,
And if you're unwilling to listen, if what you need right now is to go interact right away with a new set of people that you've never interacted with before and a streamer who's working, and to ask that time of them, then you can find other places
yeah.
to do it. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think it's a
No,
perfectly
no, of
legitimate
course.
use case for Twitch, but it doesn't scale well to what I want to make
No.
in the long
And
run.
you're not
It just
looking at
doesn't.
how many people would I have lost with this rule. You're looking at how many
Yeah.
people would I have lost that I want to lose in the
Yeah.
future. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's
I don't even
brilliant.
think about it in terms of loss. I think about it in terms of utility. I would not be excited to turn this on.
Avoid,
I wasn't
perhaps.
excited to turn on
No.
followers only mode. I was very frustrated to turn on followers only mode, but I also don't regret it
I didn't know you had
because
followers only mode. Okay.
yeah, because you've been following, so it never
Yeah, well,
affected you. Yeah, when we started playing Monster Train, I just had too many people come in and be like,
blah blah blah.
I was noticing that they clearly didn't understand the core spirit of the community
Mm,
and that their motivations were selfish. And it's surprising how much of a difference pushing a single button makes.
yeah.
And it's also surprising how self-selecting people are,
Hmm.
because and not in all cases, okay, again, I can name a handful
Yeah.
of people who are incredible contributors, positive contributors, who have said, if I had to press the follow button, I wouldn't be there. Most people who are
Mm.
unwilling to click a follow button are also just not going to be good contributors in the long
No,
run.
no, I think that one's a lot more black and
That's a
white.
very simple ask.
And
It's a
also the
very
thing that I
simple
like with
ask.
followers only button is a lot of people who click
Mhm.
in the chat box and the rules come up, click the OK button before they read what comes up. When you have
Yeah,
to
yeah,
follow for
that's true.
10 minutes, you tend to get an idea before you open your
Hmm.
mouth, and I like that.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah,
lighten it up a little bit, Kevin.
sure.
Now, I've had this origin story from the creator, and for this, in this particular moment, I'd like to just give a shout out. Teak and I
Mm.
actually share a wonderfully, incredibly talented graphics designer. I mean,
True.
I say share. Teak's wonderfully, incredibly graphics designer
I
has
should
been
say that was by
stolen.
accident, by the way. All of my previous commissioned artists were not Dog Matriarch, and then suddenly I had new emote slots, and I was like, Dog Matriarch, please, can I use your junior?
Oh, really?
Can I use your J and use your junior? Yeah. And
Okay, I
then
didn't know that.
paid retroactively. Yeah, because she was doing kind of community art, and I was like, hey, as a heads up, I always I commission my art. Like
Yeah.
that's important to me. I'm a creator. I want to pay other creators to
Mhm.
make this stuff. And I appreciate all these contributions. And like, if you're interested, I'll use them in these ways. But ultimately, I'm going to commission emotes. And
Yeah.
then, like, all of a sudden, I had emote slots, and I was like, can I retroactively commission these emotes from you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I didn't realize that.
Very cool.
I thought she'd been with you since date X.
Hmm.
No, okay. So anyway, so shout out to her. She's absolutely incredible.
Hmm.
But Kevin, of course, is not directly her creation. It's a replication of. Would you like to explain, Kevin, as only you can?
Yeah,
Who is
sure.
Kevin?
So I started streaming on March. It was Friday, which I think was March 16th, 2018,
Hmm.
and then I affiliated April 4th, and to commemorate that, Bevan, my now wife, then partner,
Oh, I didn't know that
bought
either.
hmm
Yeah.
bought me this Kevin, which was just a stuffed like Beanie Baby flamingo,
Let me just.
and I actually the kind of like the dead name that's on the tag is Gilda, but I saw it and I immediately said Kevin because it kind of reminded me of the colorful bird from Up. And so initially it was just, okay, this is a really cute thing, and it was always kind of close to the stream. And then as I was streaming, occasionally I would like I would start to bring it up, or we'd do like a little dance with Kevin or something, and then eventually, I wanted to make emotes, and it occurred to me that I could base the early emotes on Kevin. I worked with a friend of a friend at the time, this woman Brit, to make my initial emotes. Teak Kevin was Sneaky 44 Wave, I think,
Hmm.
was the name of it initially at that time. And um and it wasn't too long after commissioning the first emotes that I was like, wait, I can build a whole like brand and language of emotion around this. And I think it was kind of inspired by people like Admiral Baru. I think Admiral Baru has the singularly most recognizable set of emotes on Twitch. Even if you
I
don't watch
don't know
him,
who that is.
like the pandas.
Ah, right.
You've
Yep.
seen
Cool.
them.
Got it. Yeah.
You know exactly.
Now I know who
Right?
he
You
is.
don't
Yep.
watch this
I
person, but
don't
you've
even know
seen the
who he
pandas.
is, but I've seen the pandas.
It's excellent, and from very early on, I feel that he's worked with really incredible artists very directly to craft like a cohesive brand and language, and
Mm,
that's what I wanted with Kevin was let's express through this character the things that we want to express in the chat room.
yeah. Um, I just I love it that
I
it's
love
a
the
Beanie
mascot
Baby.
too.
I love it
There's
that
a
it's a
bunch of
Beanie
them
Baby, and it's
in the
just
room. Like I'll go pick one out
there's
later.
normally one on your desk, isn't there? I don't know where Kevin's gone. Is he taking a holiday?
Yeah, well, it's just I just don't have much desk real estate.
Ah, okay.
I just need more space.
Um, this almost refers actually back to what you've just said. You
Hmm.
choose to be very open with your own life and what's going on with it. Just
Hmm.
before stream, Teak and I were talking about something that I used to research a little bit about Teak, and even though I've been watching for well a couple of years now,
Hmm.
there's a channel in Teak's Discord called
Radical stream
thank you
transparency.
Radical Stream Transparency, and Teak
Yeah.
is very open with the
It was
behind
a
the
recent thought.
scenes.
Hmm.
Do you feel that this is directly part of the job?
No.
Nope.
Uh,
Okay.
so so okay. So two answers. Is it part of my job? Yes, I have defined it to be so. But no creator has the responsibility to overextend themselves or to over reveal themselves. And I think that as much as it is not my style, I really appreciate people who have the self awareness to realize that they have to significantly limit their self involvement in their stream.
Hmm.
And you'll see these people like the streamer who plays a character, right? Like
Yeah.
they wear an outfit and they have a totally different persona. That's partly a self-defense
Oh,
mechanism. They've
100%.
realized that they will be harmed in the process of overextending or over revealing themselves, and so they build a character that they can play behind to kind of make what they're doing more sustainable. For some people, that really works, but for me, it wouldn't. And I found that actually the opposite is true for me. That it's easier and more comfortable for me to create, particularly the types of creation that I want to make, when I offer quite a bit of myself, right?
Mhm.
When I'm fairly open with who I am and what I'm thinking and what's going on kind of behind the scenes. Radical stream transparency exists because I was spending all of my stream doing that. But ultimately I still want to play the games and I still want to have these interactions, and I can't like spend 3 hours every stream talking about moderation. It's like a fairly intense topic to do
Yeah.
every day on stream, right? And so I was like, well, what if I make an outlet in Discord to where I can go really deep, even deeper than I might feel comfortable going on stream, like
Hmm.
financial numbers, right?
Yeah.
And so I've liked it for that. Honestly, I'd like to post more there, but I'm
Do you
always kind of
enjoy it?
waiting for someone to ask a question. Yeah, I do, particularly when it's prompted.
Hmm.
Unprompted stuff feels weird to me, and that is part of the job, offering
Yeah.
unprompted things. But I like prompted stuff.
Do you find that it blurs the lines of work-life separation?
I think streaming blurs the lines of work life separation. I work in my house. Yeah, like, but so did my old job. I think that I've been in jobs where the line is fairly blurry
Is the
and
line blurry,
navigated
or are
that.
you blurring it? Is that a bit of both?
Mm,
Do you enjoy having a little blurred? Is what I guess what I'm getting at.
yes, actually. In my old job, what I liked about the blurring was that there was more camaraderie with the people I worked with, and the reality of having real friendships with some of the people around me, I think, made the job more tenable. But it's also partly because of itself. Like because the lines are blurred, you need to have friends in the space. If
Yeah.
it was work where you could go in and just achieve your job and work with other high efficiency, highly effective people, then you wouldn't need that as much,
Mm.
right? And so um, it's a little bit like self-defining and self-perpetuating. I need to have not work, and I've always needed to have not work. But for whatever reason, this kind of space, like video games, I'm able to do that. Like I
But
can
you
watch
do
Twitch
still
when I'm not
find the
live
ability to be
and not be
having
working.
not workspace.
Yeah, absolutely. And having a separate studio now helps a lot. When I was living in a single bed apartment, it was tough because the stream studio was also the kitchen and the living room and the path to
of
the
course.
bathroom, right?
Um,
So now that I have an actual studio, like when I come on and turn the lights on, I'm working.
mhm. Yeah,
If
no,
the
I like
studio
that.
lights aren't on or I'm not in the room, I might be thinking about an upcoming event or I might be interacting with someone on Discord, but I'm not working. And I usually try to keep like my phone. Usually Twitch and Discord are not on my phone.
Yeah,
I've had to break that rule recently a bit just because of just
yeah.
constraints, but almost always those apps do
You
not
can just turn the
exist on my
notification
phone.
off anyway, so that's what I do. Just turn it off. I
Yeah,
can
but
see it
I
if I
still
want to.
check them.
Oh, you check them? No, I don't have that problem.
Yes,
No, I don't
yeah,
have that
I
problem.
do
I
have
only
that
check
problem.
it when it says hello. Check me. Um,
Yeah.
so speaking of apps,
Mm,
I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna mention the YouTube word. This is something that
okay.
appears on a sort of I don't know how often does this appear? Bi-weekly for you? Weekly? Sort
Yeah.
of in the switch. Hey Teak, when's YouTube happening?
Well,
Um,
you know that I have like hundreds of hours of YouTube content, right?
of course.
It's just collaborative
100 is yeah.
with
Oh right, I see what
with
you mean. Already
with
present YouTube.
Rhapsody.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
100%.
No. There's actual real like
Yeah.
made for YouTube content, and it's good. It's just
Um,
not on my channel.
I'm not necessarily going to say when's YouTube coming.
Mm,
I'm going to say is the reason that a Sneaky Teak only YouTube channel doesn't quite exist right now as a fully living project
mm.
because you haven't found the right content, because you haven't found the time to make the right
No.
content, or because
Yes.
right, it's just a time-based thing.
It's time and it's energy and it's also buckets. I think that a lot of people mistakenly feel, "Oh, you're already making Twitch, just make YouTube." And
Mm,
I'm trying to say this in a way that doesn't make Dog Matriarch angry. I should note that I have received lots of volunteer offerings to help me make and
mhm,
edit YouTube content. Um, but I'm ultimately also I kind of have this philosophy to where I want to do everything myself first.
okay.
Not always. I'm cool with working with other people, commissioning other people, but like
Mm,
I want to get my hands dirty and understand what's going on for my stream,
yeah.
and for my
I probably
content, for
should
my
have that
brand.
attitude, but I could have been more different.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
you want to do
and
it
I think
for me? Fantastic. Bye.
look,
Yeah.
in terms of pure career, there is not any single thing which I think is going to be more highly correlated with growth and success of my stream over the next couple years than making a steady flow of YouTube content. Nothing will surpass it. I could stream 20 hours a day and it
Yeah.
would not be as effective as making YouTube content. Period, full stop. It's like the best funnel that I could add at my current size.
Yeah.
It's really important for the career. And I have this plethora of ideas, of series, of things, of deep dives. I've talked about them on stream.
Mhm,
The vision for the content is there, but I think it's easy to miss how much extra work it is. It's a
mhm.
full-time extra job.
It is.
And it's a very different set of work. Like going live and doing a stream looks very different than planning out and scripting and making and editing and creating a YouTube. Hell, just even making thumbnails and like
I spent
making
2 hours
descriptions.
doing my
It's
first
so much
four
work.
minutes.
It's so much
It's
work. It's so
terrifying.
much more work than people
Yeah.
know. And so I just like, especially now with Junior, my little dog
Mhm,
who I'm raising, my puppy, it's been hard to carve out enough time. And part of the reason that I stepped back my commitment to streams was to start to make that space this year
yeah.
because I do need to do it and I
Have you
want
got a
to.
hardline
Um,
deadline on YouTube, or is this
well,
a
my hard time
flexible thing?
deadline was the end of last year.
Yeah. Well,
So,
okay. Have we got a new one, or are you sort of
no,
no? You're not deadlining it. Okay.
I flunked that already.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like,
Okay.
I'd like to do it in the first half. I actually have a YouTube video now, too, on my own channel. It's unlisted, but it's the
Ah.
Demothon video, which is,
Ah. Yeah. Yeah.
that's like the lowest that I'm willing to do is to cannibalize Twitch content when it's special event style content that would be a good presentation for
Mhm,
YouTube. And still, it needs a nice thumbnail and it needs a nice description.
yeah.
Um, so, yeah.
Dare I ask? There is this new thing, TikTok.
No,
Yes. No.
I
Okay.
don't want it.
Right. No.
You
I mean,
Betsy sends me TikTok videos
it
sometimes and
is
they're really funny.
apparently it's the
Mhm.
best growth technique for for a Twitch stream. However, I don't think you necessarily look at growth as in the same way as most other streamers, because you're not attempting
Yeah,
to just grow. You're attempting to
no,
grow in a very specific direction,
exactly.
and you're
S-
unlikely to find that on TikTok.
So if I really, if all I cared about was growth for the sake of growth, seeing the viewer number go up, there's a bunch of things I could do differently.
Mhm,
I could spend hundreds or thousands of dollars doing giveaways every stream. I could go pay for paid ad placements. I could like make sure that I'm playing exactly the right game at exactly the
Yeah.
right time all the time. Like there's a lot of things I could do if getting bubble viewership was my goal.
Mhm.
Um, I know some streamers who are investing in TikTok right now as a way to grow their stream. I hope that for them it's very successful. I see limited meaningful overlap
Mhm.
between people on TikTok who would discover my stream and come to it, who represent the type of interaction that I want to have.
Yeah.
The Venn
I
diagram
think
is
that's
almost
the
zero.
key. That's the key
Yeah,
definition. Yeah.
yeah.
Although I think
It's
it is
just
expanding, I wouldn't be surprised if in 3 years' time
sure.
Teak was using TikTok. But
Well, and
I
you never
think it
know
will
where
be
you're
a
going to
different
find someone.
TikTok. Yeah.
At some point in my career, I'm going to have someone who's like, "Oh, I found you from like this tech conference that you did or something, and I came to your stream." And it's like, okay, first of all, I need to work on undoxing myself, and second of all, that's really cool that you
Yeah.
connected those. Like I want people to come from anywhere. I have to.
Yeah.
I need to be comfortable with people coming from anywhere because there's billions of people in the world, but not all of them are discovering actively on Twitch. In
Yeah.
fact,
I
discovery
love
on
this
Twitch is
thing
pretty
that you
bad.
say that there are probably millions of people who would enjoy watching your content and fit
Yes.
right in. It's just that
Yes.
you need to find them.
That's
But
right.
TikTok is not the way we're looking
I
for
don't
them.
look at like Ninja with the Drake thing. 100,000 people is cool, but it's really cool. 100 million people.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, but
100%.
realistically, I really do think there could be a million people who would be
Yeah.
engaged with and enjoy the stream. So,
Last one in this
and
section.
that's crazy. That's
Yeah.
crazy to think about, right?
Well,
Like we're excited
is
about
it?
hundreds.
Is it
It
crazy or
is.
is it
It
quite
is because Twitch would fall
understandable?
over. No, it's
Well,
totally
yes.
crazy. Like the core infrastructure would just fail if I
Oh,
had a
in that
million people
sense,
trying
yes,
to.
100%. But it's
Yeah.
also not so
Yeah.
crazy that 100 million people of these 7 billion people in the world would
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
find X content interesting. I mean, that's kind of
Yeah, yeah.
logical.
I think a million is conservative. I think a
Yeah,
million people in the world.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
What's your favorite game to play off stream these days if you ever find a minute and you're playing a game off stream?
Rocket League.
Yeah.
I've been playing through some JRPGs too. Like I was playing through Ni no Kuni 2.
Ooh.
I think so this is fun because this is an
Where
interview
does your
space.
time come from?
I don't know. I like to sleep too. I won't romanticize the
Yeah.
American ideal of only work,
Oh,
no
God, no.
sleep.
No. Balanced
Um
lifestyle in all
I've
aspects.
got to sleep. I can't
Yeah.
make good content if I'm not sleeping.
Mhm.
But we find a lot of time in the cracks when we look for it, and I am a strange bingey person for
Yeah.
sure. I like chill kickback JRPGs when I'm trying to unwind with a game,
Mhm.
but not always. And increasingly, I find myself critical of them. So like, I wouldn't talk about this a lot on my stream because I really want to focus on the positive things of games and encourage a conversation where we're focused on the positive things of games. I feel like once you get past about the half or 2/3 part of Ni no Kuni 2, it's just empty. It feels like they stopped
Mm.
working on making the story compelling
Do you
at
know what?
all.
I feel
They
that
just
way
made
about a lot of JRPGs. They go, shit,
yeah.
this game only lasted an hour and a half. Bugger me.
No,
Just stretch. You know?
and I think it's a real thing. I think they're like,
Yeah.
we need to have a game that's 100 hours long so that can say it's 100 hours long because people are trying to like do budgetary analysis for their joy, right? Min-maxing dopamine hits or whatever. But ultimately they really only work on the first 20.
Yeah.
And the first 20 are great. And then the game just like plummets from that point forward.
first
I
20 are
definitely feel
great.
that way.
Let's
The
keep that
first
one in
20 are
mind.
great.
Okay, so
Exactly.
this is we're gonna attempt something with you here. These are quick fire
Sure.
questions, right? You pick one or the
Sure.
other, and you just say the word. Night or day?
Okay. Night.
Walk or drive?
Walk.
Silence.
I love
or,
driving.
Silence or noise?
Noise.
Beach holiday or city break?
Beach.
Forest or mountains?
Forest.
Dinner with friends or a party?
Dinner.
Bath or shower?
Shower. You can sit in the shower.
Outside of COVID, online shopping or visit the store?
Online.
Yep. Pen or pencil?
Pencil.
And when you're sleeping, is the window open or closed? But if
Closed.
you have the
You've never
choice.
lived in Texas.
No, I realised as I asked this, I thought, Steve-O explained this thing to me. Well, not only that, he said if I open the window, it'd be too hot. And my brain went, we open the window to get cold, not hot. And then I went, oh, they have this air
Bugs.
conditioning thing.
Yes, also
yeah.
bugs.
Well, yeah, that too. But we don't have air conditioning here. Okay, and
Yeah,
now
yeah.
let's really delve. What's your favourite place in
Okay.
the whole world?
Favorite place in the whole world? I've not been to everywhere in the whole world. That's impossible.
Currently.
Well, so here, it's important to me that home is a place that I really love, and I work to make home a place that I really love.
Yep.
And so in terms of like whatever the most objective measurement I could make, it would be here.
Hmm.
But when I talk about this more emotionally, my paternal grandparents have a house and some land in the mountains of northern New Mexico,
Oh
and
wow.
that's like a favorite place
Yeah,
for
that
sure.
sounds stunning.
Hmm.
What's your biggest fear in life?
Um, Also, can I respond to one thing in chat?
Yeah, of course you can.
Just Jake says, "Dinner. This is fake news." I was the whole time I was trying to stick to the format and just give you the one word, but it occurred to me as I was going through that partly what I was saying was like kind of whiplash, because depending on my mood, it would have been the other word.
Yeah,
And
of course.
Jake's absolutely right that like most of the time it's the party, not the dinner. But I think right now it's just dinner is what I
Yeah.
want. You know
Maybe
what I
you're just
mean?
hungry.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
So what's your biggest fear in life?
Um, Historically, failure. I used to be afraid of heights, and then I rode a bunch of roller coasters, and I'm over it. But I don't have a lot of fears. For sure, failure has been the prevalent one that I've struggled with throughout my life. I've always been kind of like a perfectionist person, and you better believe that on the list of impediments to getting more YouTube content is
Well,
the
that's why
concept
I
and
asked
the
the
truth
previous one. Yeah. Yeah.
that whatever I make won't be right,
Yeah.
and that I'm going to kind of
And the
fall on my
problem with
face a few
YouTube is
times.
you actually can perfect it. I mean, you can't, but you
Yes.
can. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
you might
Yeah. Yeah.
think you can perfect it. Yeah. I had some really great advice from a huge YouTuber, Firebat, last week, who said,
Hmm.
"Do 1,000 takes, but use the first one." Because it will inevitably be the best one. It is the least
Yeah, that's
rehearsed,
funny.
most natural, the one the way you said all the things you meant to say. He said, unless you've
Yeah.
actually forgotten to turn the camera on, use the first one.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
also really interested. You're sort of the fifth or sixth person to say that I used to have a fear of X and then I got over it.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah. Yeah.
amazing to me. I'm absolutely flummoxed. I've been scared of wasps since I was a
Isn't it
child.
wild?
I'm still
Hmm.
terrified of wasps, and I imagine when I'm 95 years old on my deathbed, I will be terrified of wasps. I
Yeah, that's
wish
fine. That's a
I
natural
wish I
fear.
could do this sort of get over it, but
I think
yeah,
I think fears of like highly venomous, brightly colored animals is like a pretty good
that's
fear.
very
That's like a very
logical.
reasonable,
Yeah. I mean, they're not
human
venomous here.
evolutionary
They're
fear.
just bloody
Yeah.
scary.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I
Um.
don't know. I think as children we're very rubber, right? And we're and like or
Yeah.
mentally plastic, honestly.
Oh,
And
right. In
it
that
was one of
sense,
those
yes.
things to where I just was like, I don't want to be afraid of heights. Like I want to be able to climb up in
Ah.
towers, and I want to
This isn't a sort
and
of I got
like
rid of
have
it last year. This is you got rid of it as a
I
child.
was motivated
Yeah.
to not be scared of heights,
Yeah.
and honestly, that was half the battle.
Yeah. I've never really had
Yeah.
a convenient reason to not be scared of wasps. I've
Why
just gone.
would
Do you know
you?
what? I'll
Why would you
avoid
care
them.
to do that? Like,
No.
what are you gonna go do?
Yeah.
Wasping? Like what?
Exactly.
What pastime are you missing out on that you can't be afraid?
Yeah.
Like, it's
No.
just fine. Just be
Picnics.
afraid of wasps. That's
Picnics.
cool.
That's what I'm missing
Yeah,
out
that's
on. Can't
fair.
stand a picnic.
Yeah,
Oh
that's
no. Why would
fair.
anybody
That's
eat
fair.
outside? Crazy people.
Yeah,
Right. Who is
yeah.
your hero or your inspiration? It's gonna be a famous person or someone close to home.
Um, Grandfather is paternal grandfather is probably the person
This
who
is the
I
hat. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, who I just I've learned from so many people. I think that that's one of the things I feel really gifted about is that I've had so many lovely interactions and so much to emulate from others. But perhaps the person who taught me the most in terms of like what I value is probably my grandfather.
Yeah.
I used to say Jane Goodall too. Actually,
I'm afraid you're
I
gonna have
was
to
going
tell
to
me
be
who
a
that is.
biologist.
You're gonna have to
Yeah,
tell me who
Jane
that
Goodall
is.
was like the chimp researcher of like
Oh right.
this was like perhaps the first biggest popular scientist
Wow.
who took a field and like made it accessible and interesting and engaging and like got it on the news and got it on, you
Holy
know what I
hell.
mean? And I think that that's really a big deal.
That's
And
a
so I've
worthy hero.
always
Yeah. That's
yeah, I've always
huge.
respected her a lot because she did I've always wanted to like hybridize things and build bridges, and I think she was a great person for building bridges between science and people.
Yeah. I think that's that's one of those sort of heroes that sort of catches you by surprise. A lot of people have
Mm,
fairly, they. It's not necessarily a hero. Isn't necessarily somebody who you want to be. They're not an
yeah, yeah,
idol.
yeah,
It's an inspiration to do something
right.
in an ilk, and I think that's a really
Yeah.
that's a wonderful answer. Okay, what does a Saturday evening off look like for Teak? I mean, I picked Saturday as a sort of mandatory day,
Hi, this
so
is my Saturday
yeah.
evening.
So neither you
I'm
nor
I'm
so
still live anyway.
so neither you nor Bev are working. There's no stream, no work commitments, anything. 7 p.m. in the evening. What
Uh-huh.
what do you kick back and do?
Well, right now I play with my dog. I take care of my dog.
Junior.
And that's yeah, that's like all of it right now is walking, training, doing. But like I said, we bought this sweet couch. It's like the when we first started looking for a couch for upstairs, because our TV and our den is upstairs, and
Yeah.
I actually love that. It's very
Yeah.
typical in America to have the TV downstairs in the living room. And when we moved, I was like, I don't want that, actually. I want the living room to just be a space.
Yeah.
And upstairs can have the entertainment center. And so we bought a couch initially, and it was just mega uncomfortable, like incredibly uncomfortable. In the summer when it was hot, you had to peel your skin off of
There's
it. Like
nothing
we
worse,
didn't
is
both
there?
fit. Yeah, one of us got to be moderately uncomfortable, and the other one got to be immensely
Yeah.
uncomfortable. And that was the. But we wanted to start watching more movies and stuff, and so we started couch shopping. And when we first started, I was like, this couch will not plug in. I do not need electronics in my couch.
No.
It's a couch. It's a
Mhm.
piece of furniture. It needs to be comfortable. And the couch that we bought plugs in twice. It has two separate plugs that you
Okay,
have to
excuse
plug
my
in.
ignorance, but what the hell does a plug-in couch
It's
do? Does it
fully
walk?
motorized reclining seats on both sides. It's got charging ports everywhere. It's got like LEDs in the cup holders. It's the Cadillac of couches. It's friggin' sweet, actually. I'm like totally in love with it. The center console pops up and it's got lights.
I mean, I'm just utterly bemused by the fact you can plug in a couch. That's
It's awesome. It's a local
that's
for those in
awesome.
chat. It's a local Austin area place that I got it from, so I couldn't. IKEA makes good reasonable couches. Our sectional downstairs is IKEA, so
So
you
here
can get a
you are
good
on a
couch
plug-in
everywhere.
couch,
That's
Junior in
right.
hand. Yeah, okay, I
That's
love
that
it.
Junior actually tends to
Junior on
be
foot,
asleep at this
or
point.
yes.
Junior on foot, yeah. And I'm probably just like I'm just chilling. I'm watching an anime or I'm watching a show with Bevan or I'm playing a game. And I tend to want to play console games and I am looking for them to feel very different than what I stream. So
Yeah.
I'm looking for them to be a chill JRPG. I'm looking for them to be,
Oh,
a
this
more
is solo.
immersive
This isn't
story
necessarily with
experience.
Bev. It's
Both,
both.
but
Right.
we
Okay.
actually are like we're like solo standby operators a lot of the time. So we're near each other doing an individual thing,
Yeah.
kind of like
Yeah, I'm very much
drifting
in
in
the same
parallel.
boat. Yep.
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
those are the
yeah. Cause
happiest times when you're just at peace in each other's company. You know, you don't have to
mm-hmm,
have X or Y.
yeah,
Speaking about home changes and couches and dogs,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
um, sort of a two-sided question. What precipitated the decision to acquire Junior?
Mm.
And
I always wanted a
what is
dog.
the emotional impact it's had on life as a
Massive.
as a you?
So Bevan and I have always wanted to have a dog, but there were a few things. So first of all, she this is another opportunity for me to just lavish praise on Bev. I think that Bevan might have the single highest propensity for self change and growth of any person I've ever met. And that is like the most incredible and respectable trait, I think,
Yeah.
like to have as a person. I have seen her change everything about herself that she wanted to change, right? When we first started dating, she was the I only eat mac and cheese girl who's gluten intolerant. That is a really inconvenient lifestyle. And now she eats and cooks everything, right?
Yeah.
And when we first started dating, she was like, really like small dogs. I really like pugs. And someday we're going to have a grumble of pugs. And I was like, no.
I want a real dog, please.
I really like sporting breeds. I like big dogs
Yeah.
who can do dog things. Not to say that I wouldn't love a smaller, more toy dog, because I would, and I would raise it and I would take care of it. But I've always wanted to have a bigger dog. And so she was always like, I want to have dog. And a few years ago, she was like, okay, I think I see it, and I think I would be willing to have. At first, it was like Shiba Inu, and I was like, you're getting in. You've never raised a dog before, and you're gonna pick like one of the most smart and stubborn dogs that exists. Maybe let's start with. And I wanted the Shiba too, right? And so anyway, we finally decided that we would get a lab, and
The dog that is
um,
designed for people who are having a
the
dog for the first time. Yes.
exactly, it
Good plan.
basically is. Even though it's a very real sporting breed, like they need a job and they
Yeah.
need to go run and retrieve.
Mm.
And so finally we decided, because I had kind of been pushing and being like, I'm not sure we're ready. Like we've got too much going on in our life. We
Mm.
still live in San Francisco.
Yeah,
And so
moving
finally,
was
yeah,
what, somewhat recent.
it was. So we actually moved in December 2019 at the end,
Was it
like
that
right at the
long?
beginning of
Flip, how
2020.
time flies.
I
2020
know,
just didn't
right?
exist, did it? We just sort of
Yeah.
well, everybody's cut that section. But go on.
Yep.
So
But
moving
as
was
with
one thing.
most big life decisions, we spent years talking about it,
Of
and then we
course.
decided in like a week, right? Like it was like, let's do this, let's get a dog, and the impact has been massive.
Yeah.
I simultaneously feel you live in this dichotomy, I think, where you're noticing these polar opposite extremes. Like
Mhm.
I feel like I have more and less energy than I had before,
Yeah.
because raising the dog well and with the privilege of being at home all the time is taxing, spend a lot of time and energy and focus on the dog, but immensely rewarding. When we first brought this puppy home and he was like excited about the rocks in the backyard, it's like awesome.
Yeah.
You're seeing your house again through the lens of this animal who's just so excited to explore this space that you've been living in. So quickly we tend to the mean. We get
Mhm.
used to our reality, and I think that a dog is like this really incredible way to
Oh,
kind of
there we go.
rediscover
Hmm.
your space. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's been great. It's been really, really awesome. I'm definitely tired, and I've like had to cut some things back in my
Of
life to
course.
make space for it. But no, it's awesome.
Yeah. Good old Junior. What
Goody,
motivates
goody
Teak to work
boy.
hard?
I love my job. I've spent my whole life trying to align myself with things that I love and that I'm passionate about. And I've also spent my whole life trying to understand and accept and appreciate that sometimes work is work.
Yeah.
And so I work hard because I love my job, but I also work hard because I work hard.
It's
I
good.
expect
It's
it of
good
myself,
attribute. Yeah.
and I set the structure for it and I set the space for it.
So
Honestly,
you
I've like
motivate you. You know, bit of
yes,
yeah,
yes,
yeah. It's all
I'm
it's self involved.
largely
Yeah.
self-motivated. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
lucky you.
But that's not to say that I've taken a bunch of time off this year
Mm.
comparatively for a streamer, right?
Yeah, yeah. Bunch of time. I took
Stravelier
8
pointed
hours on a Friday.
yeah.
It was
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah, I know. Stravelier pointed this out. He was like, this year, including the holiday break in December, you've still been live on camera over 33 hours a week, which
Mm.
is like very reasonable considering all of the off-camera work that you have to do as well and YouTube and stuff, right? But for me, that's felt low, and I've had like more than the average amount of
Yeah,
days that I've taken off, right? So, but you just set structure. I have to have routine, and I have to have
yeah,
schedule. And so when I'm feeling great, then I go live. And when I'm not feeling great, then I either take a night off or I go live and I get in the mode.
yeah. We don't see you angry very often.
I'm
What
not an angry person.
really makes you angry inside?
So I'm not an angry person but I have a hot streak
Hmm.
like in my family and in me personally. I can count on one hand the number of times in my life where I've been angry, but it's been like blinding anger,
Hmm.
like
Rage.
seeing red.
Yeah.
Um and but it's irrational, right? So it's not like I can say, "Oh boy, when you eat my cereal, that makes me blindly angry."
Yeah, I mean, maybe I
Here's
don't
a
mean
story.
rage, but like, what
Yeah.
pisses you off?
Yeah, I have pet peeves though,
Yeah.
for sure. Like I've talked about some pet peeves. I have streaming pet peeves, but like let's not talk about stream. Let's talk about real life. Um what did I'm not interacting with people. You can't remember pet peeves when you live in like the post reality exact. You have to have
Yeah.
other people interact with you to have pet peeves. Oh
Oh,
man.
maybe.
I just want to I want to see people think, and I want to see people think about other people. I think that when I see someone behaving in a way which is selfish, I can appreciate it because we all have times and days where we need to be
Mm.
selfish. But when we're blindly ignoring, like actively ignoring the needs and welfare of other people, it frustrates me. It
That's a damn
frustrates
good
me a
thing.
lot.
Yeah, that's a damn
Yeah.
good thing to be annoyed about.
Mm-hmm.
It's a right thing to be annoyed about. And
Mm-hmm.
what never fails to make you smile?
Mm. Junie, my
Junior.
little boy.
Yeah.
Even when he's being a real turd, he's great.
You
Yeah,
still
and
laugh at it, don't you? You just try not to let him see your
yeah,
face while you do it.
yeah, exactly. But
No.
but you've seen my stream.
Yeah.
It doesn't take much
No.
to make me smile. I think I see joy in a lot of little things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do. I do agree. Um, what's next for Teak?
Right now, I'm gonna go feed my dog. Um, and that's kind of how I live. I've got this. So work wise, stream wise, I do have some things coming up.
Hmm.
The perpetual horizon item, YouTube. It really is coming.
Yep.
I need to find my feet. But once I do, and once I integrate it into routine, I think I can make good things. And it won't just be not to minimize the value of being economical, but I'm not planning to just kind of repurpose streams.
Yeah.
Like I have all of these ideas that I think will be meaningful, unique, valuable content for YouTube as a space, like tailored toward an
Yeah.
evergreen space. Um, and so I'm excited for that. In the more recent or immediate future, I'm planning to do this atmospheric stream game day where I focus on showcasing a bunch of games that just have a great style and mood.
Ooh, are we getting
Either
Ori in the
because they
Blind
have a
Forest?
So no, actually,
Damn
that
it.
that that game is great. Do you want here? I'll give you spoilers. That
Yep.
you want the list? I'll give you a whole list.
If you don't mind spoiling it for other people, yeah, I'm all spoiler ahead.
No, it's all good. If you're here, then you'll appreciate it. The games on the list right now are Osmos, Ethereal, The Unfinished Swan,
Oh, that's meant to be
Antechamber,
amazing.
Manifold Garden, Islanders, Mew Cartographer, Mars Power Industries, Gulf Peaks, Spring Falls, Hook, and Cloud Gardens. Some of these games
I
I've
see now
played.
more what you mean. Yeah, it's the whole ethos of sort of yeah.
Some of them are puzzlers, some of
Mm,
them are more just like a visual experience, some of them are explorational games, but they all have the similar idea of being fairly minimalist in design, like
mhm.
not an RPG, not
Yeah.
a million menus and um like visually and sound evocative, I think.
Mm. Yeah, something you can
Yeah.
sort of you can appreciate as a viewer almost as much while not playing it. That's
hmm
it brings it to you, doesn't it?
Yeah, and we'll cut the camera and we'll just go full late night jazz DJ tones
Oh,
and
lovely.
just do that. So yeah, it'll be a good piece. Also, at some point in time in the next, whenever I decide that I want to be really sassy, I'm gonna do an exactly 8 hour stream to the minute where I have no camera and no microphone, and I play Slay the Spire. And if we're in the middle of a run, I'll just end
Wow.
at eight
That's
hours.
really cool. I love the idea
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna be brutal, and I hope no one shows up because I'm gonna be like kind of shattered if it's really
Yeah, that's
popular.
hard
To be
work.
honest,
Yeah.
I know. No, it's not. It's
No, I don't
it's
mean hard work.
lazy.
I mean it would be hard, not hard work, hard to take.
It's
I guess
lazy.
it would be hard to
Yes,
take.
that would
Yeah.
be so hard to
Do you know
take if it
what?
was like
All of
more.
this talking I
If
do is
if
pointless.
if that were more popular than a typical night of Slay the Spire, I would be shattered, like really shattered. So please don't come. Don't show up,
I'll come. I'll
and
just
tell
make
your
sure I'm not
friends
registered as
not
a
to show
viewer.
up.
Yeah.
I'm serious. I need it to really underperform. I
Yeah.
really do.
But I think it's really
But if
cool
it
as a
doesn't,
one-off, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's performance art. Yeah,
And
exactly.
the question, Afi, now,
hmm
um, Twitch is not it's not a permanent. I mean, it can be a permanent career, but it's not necessarily a
hmm
permanent career. It
hmm
can be something,
For
temporary.
me, it is insofar as like something similar to this exists.
Yes, of course. But I more mean like
hmm
you can't guarantee anything on Twitch. But
No,
where
you
do
can't.
you see yourself in 10 years' time?
I hope Twitch or a similar live
Hmm.
streaming platform, and I hope to be surprised by how many people are still interacting, even if they took years off,
Hmm.
who I'm interacting with now. I want, in many ways, I want longevity. I want a
Hmm.
stream that's not a hot topic. That's not something to where people on a whim decide to watch it on one day and then they're done. They're over it. They're through with it.
Yeah.
I want to be. I kind of want to make the streamers stream, in a lot of ways. Um, and so yeah, I hope something like Twitch. Look, I definitely didn't leave my previous career to chase money or to chase some ideal of
No, of
laddering or
course.
something, right?
Yeah.
I left because I felt really passionate about this,
Mm.
and I don't perceive that I'm going to wake up anytime soon and suddenly decide that I've completed my journey.
No,
Like, I don't think I'm
no, of
close.
course not.
So hopefully Twitch.
And outside of the stream, does life still?
Mm.
Do you hope that life still looks the same in 10 years' time?
Well, I hope it's better.
Well,
I
yeah.
hope
I mean,
everybody does.
well, it would be nice to get out of COVID. No, I mean, have you got any major life plans the next 10 years, or is it sort of I've got what I've got and I'm happy with it right now, in terms of immediate home life?
Yeah, I'm living in the place that I want to live. Um, I'm not really looking to like majorly upgrade or move.
Hmm.
This is where I want to be locally, like the actual house, but also, the space, like being in Austin, being where I am in relation to friends and family, being where I am in relation to the city. Um, like there's no marriage coming up because that's done.
Yeah, of
We'll,
course.
we'll
Yeah.
we'll we'll probably have a party at some point in time. I've got the dog now, and
Yep.
so I'm going to be raising him. Like I'm not looking to upgrade my life because I think it's good. Like
What
I
a
think it's
wonderful thing
upgraded.
to hear. Where do you see yourself in 10
Yeah.
years? Where would you like to see yourself in 10 years? Right fucking here. Without the
Yeah.
COVID and with a bit more social
Yeah,
interaction.
yeah, yeah. We
I,
can
I think
improve the
that's fucking
periphery. Yeah.
brilliant. I
Yeah,
love
yeah,
that. I love
yeah.
that. Right. Well, thank you so much. I know I can get a little
Of
bit
course.
intense.
No, no, it was great,
But
and
good.
you gave me some room to reflect, so
Yeah.
I'm happy with it.
I'm not kicking you off. I've got a little time left, but that is the end of the
Okay,
scripted questions.
okay.
I'm going to open up to chat to any questions you want to ask. Here is your moment. Without using channel points, you can't guarantee they'll be asked, but we'll try and get through as many as we can. So if you have any questions for Teak, as tiny and pointless as possible, or as hugely emotionally, grounded as possible, and I will take of them what I can. While you guys are thinking of your questions, I'd like to take a minute just to talk about why I chose you, why I'm here, why
Please,
I've
and
been a
sorry
viewer.
for I'm doing
No,
some
it's all right.
logistics,
Yeah,
so
you're fine. You're absolutely
forgive me.
fine. You can take a minute off. Um,
Okay.
but for me, the the most important thing for me about Teak's community, Teak's stream, is actually sort of situational. It's the moment I arrived. I arrived at Teak's stream. What is it now? 31 months ago. 30 months ago. 30 months ago.
Yeah.
Um,
Prior to
and
partner.
yeah. Um, on a really rough night. I didn't want to interact with anybody. I didn't want to do anything. I was having a really bad time, and I opened the stream. I clicked on it by complete randomness. I can't even remember what you were playing, to be honest. All I remember is the interaction between yourself and the community. And for
Mm.
me, the most incredible thing about that is that today, if I open the stream feeling well, if I open the stream today, I won't find you. But if I open the stream on a day you're streaming, and
Hmm.
I'm in a rough place, the interaction between Teague and the community will be essentially the same.
Mm.
There is a huge focus on joy, but it's not an irrational focus on joy. It's a focus on joy and on support and on learning and on progression, and that's within the game and without the game, as humans and as gamers.
Mm.
Um, there is, as you say, an open armness, welcoming to the community that it's flipping hard to find anywhere, and in some ways, it's quite a restrictive welcoming. It's you're
Mm.
welcome here, but please adhere to X, Y, Z, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. But actually, it's
Yeah.
logical. It's completely logical, and yes, sometimes you have to remember not to make that sex joke, but at the same time,
Hmm.
you're aware that not only are you not going to be offended, upset, anything like that, you're also not going to do that to anyone else if you follow in the
Mm.
essence of the channel. And I think it's a big sign of your channel that each individual I meet within your channel turns out to be a multifaceted, interesting human being who genuinely cares for others. And that
Mm.
is the biggest accolade I could ever give to you. Um, Also, on a
Thank you.
side note, brilliant player of games. You really delve deep and deeper and somewhat deeper. We look at every single possibility construct. Please don't lean too far to your right. I don't know what's going
Oh,
on my screen. Yeah, just stay as you are. Yeah, just there's great. Yeah, thanks.
you're
Yeah,
welcome.
so you definitely look at games in a detailed and tactical way, and I think it's fair to say that you're quite good at them. Certainly in the roguelike department,
Thank
but also
you.
in most games, you tend to be quite good at them after a while.
I don't think
Um,
that there's anything like genetically ridiculous about me, by the way. I don't think that that's true for much of anyone.
no, I don't think it's
Practice makes
natural. I
proficient.
think
I
it's
have the space to
practice.
learn.
It's
Hmm.
practice. It's you aim to learn,
Yeah.
and you do. And I think that's really quite empowering for a viewer who often feels like they're quite bad at video games. I mean, if you had told me at the beginning of Teak streaming that I would be able to farm, I mean, I say farm, but do Ascension 20 Hearts runs
Hmm.
and do it somewhat successfully, I would have thought you were nuts. Having watched enough Slay the Spire on Teak's channel that I could, it
Hmm.
multiply. It's 10 times the amount that I've played.
Can I
Um,
plug something
yeah, of
real quick?
course.
Because I think it demonstrates my point better than anything else. Before I streamed, I played Rocket League
Mhm.
and RPGs and WoW. I didn't play many strategy or rogue games at all.
Hmm.
I played a couple hours of Darkest Dungeon before. I've liked some card games in the past, but more like multiplayer card games. And I liked tactics like TRPGs, like simulation
Yeah.
RPGs, like Fire Emblem. I played and learned Slay the Spire 100% on stream.
Mm.
I played and learned to play every rogue that we
Well,
played
that's what
100%
makes
on
it
stream.
so good for the viewers to learn,
Yeah.
is that you
Yeah.
learn there and then.
Yeah.
So I do think you bring expertise. And for me, most importantly, I laugh. When I
Mm,
come to the stream, I laugh.
good.
It's not always intentional. It's not, a constructed humor stream. We find
No, it's not.
we
I'm not very
find
good at that.
collective humor in your
Yeah.
stream, and I think it's just it's. I've interviewed a lot of. Well, I mean, I've interviewed a few streamers, and I've spoken to a
Hmm.
lot of streamers about what they do. And
Hmm.
there are streamers who are better than you at the single game they play. There are streamers who are producing more
Many.
exciting on-stream content, or they're a comedian or a musician.
Hmm.
There are no streamers that I know of that have created a community so much by design that is such a wonderful place to be. And if you're not a douche, which you shouldn't be because you're in my channel, go follow Sneakyteak. Go spend some time there. Spend at least 4 hours watching before you talk. Um, and yeah, I mean, honestly, he's absolutely incredible.
I'm so
and
draconian.
I can't recommend him any more than that. So
Thank you.
chat questions.
Hmm.
Oh dear,
Should I just
Entropic
hit 'em?
Ender is
There's a few.
doesn't ask a question. He says 10 years from now, all cameraless streams. Oh dear.
Actually, though, I do think that like I've seen a lot of streamers over time have more and more off-camera time, and I think that that's a sustainability thing.
Yeah.
For a lot of them, they find that like it's less eye strain just to not have the studio lights on.
Some of us
It's
smoke.
perhaps there's a lot of
There's a
reasons.
freedom. Yeah. I tell you what, it's the worst thing on my stream. It's like just get rid of the camera.
Whenever I turn the camera off, I miss having the camera on, and that's a good indication to me that I should be sure to have it off every once in a while.
Yeah.
Because if there's ever a stream when I turn it off and I don't miss having the camera on, then it means that I'm overtaxing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I completely get you. So Dan says, what was the other live event you were thinking of? You specifically said, do you mean a music concert? What was the live gig you were thinking of?
Yeah,
When I said
I
this?
don't even really know like what you could have meant.
A
other
comedy
than
show,
live.
a play,
Yeah,
all
actually,
sorts of things.
yeah. There is some local like comedy acts, kind of skit-based stuff that I've been to here in Austin. I'm trying to remember the name of the place. It's been so long ago. So that was very fun. That's probably think of if there's any other. That's going to be mostly it. Well, in live gig, there's a huge difference between like festival style concert
Yeah.
and like
Yeah,
orchestral.
that's the thing I thought you were defining between. Do I mean
And I like that
concert
too.
or gig? Yeah.
Yeah,
Like
I
a
really,
classic
really appreciate actually a full orchestration.
Mm.
I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I mean,
When we were living in San Francisco, Bev played flute with the San Francisco Civic Symphony, which is a volunteer
that's
symphony.
brilliant.
So it's not like super. Yeah, she's a really good flautist actually.
I've
yeah.
always wanted to know how to say that word.
Flautist.
Flautist. Okay.
Yes.
I've always called it a
And quite the-
flautist and looked like an idiot.
The fluto. She's quite the fluto. Yeah.
Marvelous. As a
I
Texan,
wish that I had more musical interaction. I love music.
yeah. As a
really do.
Texan, do you have an official stance on beans in chili? Asks Maxwell Damage.
In or out? Usually in.
That's fair.
I just like
Not too
food,
fast.
so I'm pretty bad at being like, I live in Texas, so if you give me my coffee and it's not in a tin can, then I cannot drink it. It's like
Well, while we're
put
at
it
it,
in put
what
it in a
about
vessel.
what about pineapple and pizza?
It's fine.
Oh, okay. I don't agree. but,
I purist stances are weird.
I mean, pineapple on pizza is fine for other people, just not for me.
Yeah.
No, not for me.
It's fine. I'm honestly the best pizza that I get here is the one that Bev orders from Pint House, which is like it's like pear and honey and goat cheese and prosciutto or something like that. It's like phenomenal.
That sounds awful.
Sounds awful to you?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, I
maybe
will
you
like
should eat
meat
more
and cheese.
pineapple on your
No,
pizza,
I don't.
dog.
I find sweet and savory. I know it's meant to be a good thing for your mouth.
Oh,
but
you
it's
don't
just,
you don't
I
just
really
don't
can't
do sweet and
it.
savory.
I really
Okay.
can't do it now.
Okay, so you
I
just
can't
want,
even
you
like
want,
honey
green-
glazed ham. Like it's just wrong.
You want like bell peppers and mushrooms and some meat
Yeah.
on
You
your
got it,
pizza.
you got it.
Yeah, that's great too.
And even the bell
Yeah.
peppers have to be green.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they'll be too sweet if they're orange or red. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Ben says, as somebody who has never seen or watched Sneakyteak, what does Sneakyteak stream offer in terms of watchable content?
wanna take
I'm
that
assuming
one?
this is what kind of games? Currently a lot of Loop Hero. No,
Sure.
I think it's better for you to be more expansive. Because I'll miss something and look like I don't
So
watch.
it's always been my goal with stream to not pigeonhole myself. I don't want to be seen as a roguelite deck builder player.
Mhm.
And it's already like I even try not to say that if I weren't here, because when you say it, you make it true. You know,
Yeah.
like I don't want to be seen as the guy who drives the blue car, and it's like, well, congratulations, you're driving a blue car. Um, and so, you know, there's so many games that I love. Certain types of games lend themselves really well towards the type of content that I want to make and the type of community that I'm leading, and just towards episodic relaxation content. So it's a lot of rogues because rogues are perfect for the format. You can tune in and get in the middle of the game without feeling that you lost 40 hours of Cyberpunk,
Yeah.
right? And that's a real consideration. Like I love RPGs, but I don't stream very many of them because they they don't always perfectly suit my style.
Hmm.
But I have also carved out space to do those games which don't perfectly suit the format. Because I
Yeah.
think there's joy in discovery and joy in doing imperfect things, right?
Mm.
Doing things that you know aren't exactly right to give yourself the opportunity to get out a local maxima, basically, if you
Yeah.
think about it like a math, if you think about it like a curve. And so, whatever Wednesday is this day that we established to play games that I wouldn't usually be able to play in a typical docket.
Yeah.
But you'll see a lot of a mix of um, I always want something a bit cerebral. Like even if it's a shooter like Risk of Rain 2, I want something that I'm able to think about and articulate about the decision space of the game. And I think that I'm comfortable saying is fairly core.
Yeah. 100%. If there is no decision to be made, then you probably aren't playing it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
it's
it's
that's
not a
that's
reaction
purely
thing. I mean,
spectator
even in
sport,
Rocket
right?
League, you
Yeah.
still think about it in terms of
I'm talking about positioning,
all
I'm talking
about,
about
well, not only that, but
psychology.
yeah, the psychology, exactly. You can also
Yeah.
see a lot of paint. We definitely see paint on a regular basis.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Paint
true.
is wonderful.
Yeah. I
Um,
even got a tablet. I have like a real digital drawing tablet. So nice.
I just want to shout out what Northern Druid said. He says the kind of space that's cultivated on Teak Stream is something I would want to strive towards spreading in my offline world as well. I couldn't agree
Good.
more. 100%. Um, we also have, is a hot dog a sandwich?
Um if you think that Slime Boss is the block card, then sure.
Oh, what a
Absolutely.
brilliant reference. I'm so glad.
100%.
I'm so glad. Um, yeah, and so as far as I'm aware, I'll just scroll up and make sure I haven't missed anything. Um,
Yeah.
but I don't think I did, unless anybody has any other questions. Oh, we did have a question very early, very
Okay.
early. I remember somebody asking. Um, I think regarding eyes. Oh, it is literally how is the eyes today?
My eyes?
Apparently, yes.
You know, I'm always surprised by how comfortable they feel. Like Bevsy sat down in the studio and got a headache immediately from the studio lights. They're very bright and they are very directed right at my face. But prescription lenses have helped too.
Yeah, I'm
I
really
have
avoiding
astigmatism.
the whole studio lights. I
Yeah,
just it
which is
feels
fair.
horrible to me.
If
So
it
I'm
feels
just permanently
horrible, you
purple.
shouldn't do it.
I'm just
You
permanently
shouldn't do it.
purple, and I love it.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Yeah. Um.
Teak, do you have a question for the host? Yes.
Oh dear.
Elena,
Oh dear. Hello.
thank you for having me
Go on then.
on.
That's all right.
I was very surprised when you reappeared on Earth,
Mhm.
and then when you decided to push streaming, and I've seen you push it very eagerly.
Mhm.
And so I'll ask you one of the first questions that you asked me, which is what where are you going? Like, what are you hoping to accomplish with your broadcast?
So I started streaming nearly 3 years ago,
Hmm.
and it fell very flat for me. Not, and it didn't fall flat in terms of growth or anything like that. It fell flat for me because I guess I wasn't at the time playing anything in particular at all. I was sort of
Hmm.
playing this bit and that bit, and most of my games were with other people. And as soon as I took the other people out of it and started having a stream, it didn't work.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and sort of, I don't know, 7 or 8 months ago, I was sitting there thinking, actually, do you know what? This is something I want to do, but I want to go down a completely different route.
Yeah.
And for me, this stream and a couple of others like we're mostly headed down the just chatting route, if I'm honest, and the gaming with
Yeah.
viewers. For me, this is a
Yeah.
chance to be journalistic, a chance to be discussing things with other people that matter or that don't matter. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. There's space for
just,
that.
I mean, well,
Yeah.
there is a very specific space for it actually for me. Um, so where am I going with this? I play games 3 or 4 days a week because I enjoy it. But
Hmm.
realistically, where I'm going with it, or where I hope to be going with it, is to create a sort of a shared experience, really.
Mm.
To create a platform where we can talk to new people, experience new people, meet new people,
Mm.
um, and discover what's good about people. I'm not quite to the same level as you as only focused on the positive.
Would you interview a
Um,
viewer?
would I interview a viewer? Um, if I knew enough about them to ensure that they would remain within the boundaries that I have for
Sure.
the
You get
stream.
some
You
guarantees
know,
with streamers.
because
You
I
know
know who
something
you
about.
are,
Yeah.
I'm well
I have
aware
a
that you're
brand
going to come.
liability.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, not only that, but also I can get enough context to know that you're not going to come in and be the meme stream, or For
Sure.
me, I'm trying to stick to people who cultivate a community.
Yeah.
Um,
I asked the question
yeah.
because, I mean, you can define this very narrowly as I play games collaboratively and I interview other streamers, but I know you've also interviewed musicians. You're interviewing creators so
Well, I mean, they
far?
are streamers as well. The musicians,
Okay.
they're all
Okay.
musician streamers. Yeah, no, I'm really not fussed by who they are. I'd quite happily interview an author.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's much more for me about a shared space where people can enjoy
Hmm.
the talking. And it's not the only just
Hmm.
chatting stream we do. We do movie
Humans of
reviews.
New York
Yeah.
on Twitch.
Yeah.
Do you know
I have
this?
to go
It's
and
like
have
an
a look.
Instagram series. They just
No.
meet people and like they tell their story. It's very
Oh,
much
that sounds
this
wonderful.
idea. Yeah, it's very much this idea of not everyone needs to invent general relativity. There's beauty and joy and interest in just hearing people's individual stories without first
Mm.
deciding whether or not the story is great.
Yeah, no, I agree
Yeah.
with you. I mean, I think for me, it's a risk in terms of moderation that
Yeah.
they must have
No,
a.
100%.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
never know who's going to turn up around the
It's a
corner.
vision thing.
So
I just
yeah, no,
I
I
wanted
think,
to know
but
where your head
that
was
is
at.
also what I'm sort of looking for. Is
Mhm.
I don't want to interview the streamers about streaming necessarily. We did talk about streaming
Yeah.
because obviously it's a huge part of your life, but it's also about
Yeah,
who's the human.
exactly. I don't have
Who's the
much more
human
to
as
offer.
well? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
also do movie reviews. We're going to be doing something called Pancakes vs Pirates, where we take two
Mm.
arbitrary items and a panel of three discuss which one we'd get rid of from the world if we had to.
Okay.
Whether we'd get rid of pancakes or pirates. So it's yeah, for me, I'd love to head down the purely journalistic route, but there's also something wonderful
Yeah.
about sharing RPGs. Which for
Mhm.
me is, you mentioned earlier that you wouldn't stream RPGs because it doesn't work with what you're doing.
Yeah,
And
it's a
for me,
convenience feature.
it's the exact opposite. I don't
Mhm.
necessarily want to be consistently interactive with chat about X game. What I want
Yeah.
is
Yep.
to share my love of the game with
Yeah.
others.
In the story.
So
Yeah.
I'm somewhere
Okay.
between the two.
Okay.
But yeah,
No,
that's
this is
me.
great. This is
That's
great.
me. Thanks, Worm Superior. I really appreciate that. Actually, that's a really interesting twist. Um, and we finally have Slime Boss is a block card. It does absorb 140 HP or more. Yes, I love the concept. Yeah, no.
Slime Boss is a block card. The concept actually to break this down just because it's funny is if you define a block card as anything which prevents you from dying, then it could be that for your run, Slime Boss is a block card because you would have died to Hexaghost.
Mm.
It's oftentimes actually a fairly linear fight, at least for Ironclad and Watcher and Defect, and so yeah, it's all just good fun.
I think that that's a really nice note to end on.
We're
Actually,
wrapped.
we're just gonna end right there. I love ending on slime card, boss's block card. That's wonderful.
Thanks for
Um,
having me. This was really
well,
fun.
thank you for
I love
coming.
these. I wish I could do them more. I
It's
really
a total honor. It's a total joy, and it is. I'm willing to interview lots of different people, but it is
do.
a true joy to interview somebody who I've spent so many hours just, appreciating.
Thank you.
So yeah,
Yeah,
thank you so much for coming. I'm going to
lovely.
cut Teak off, but I am going to remain for a few minutes and just run through some streamy things. So please do stick around for a couple of minutes, and I will also take you to see somebody wonderful. But for Teak, thank you so much for coming, and we will see you on. Is it tomorrow night or Monday night?
Mañana.
I can't do
Tomorrow.
it. Tomorrow,
7
right?
p.m.
Okay.
Central.
Because
Mhm.
it's 2 o'clock in the morning for me, so I I never quite know the days.
And check out the YouTube, by the way. The Rhapsody collaborations are really good, and we have 2 series running right now, so I highly recommend them.
Yeah, if you want to discover something about them, can we find those through your Twitch channel, or do we have to
You
YouTube Sneaky Teak?
can, but let me
If you could, that'd
just
be wonderful.
give you the YouTubes.
Oh, hold on. Let's do that first before you get yourself timed out.
Thank you.
There we go.
English
yeah.
only in chat. This is URL. So this is my primary collaborator. We've made a lot of content together. Rhapsody is fantastic, and there are 2 playlists that are active right now. One that's called Ladder Streak. I'm probably can only post the one thing.
Yeah, I mean, we can just repetitively. Hold on.
I can just send these to you. That'll be easier.
No,
This
that's
is
far
Ladder
easier.
Streak.
There you go. Just post
Or
them all.
rather, that's the new one. That's Take a Peek.
Just post them all.
And
You
this.
you're no longer barred from anything. because I can't. Yeah, I can't do that. Your face will disappear if I
Copy.
tab out.
Those are our 2 running series. They represent 2 different ends of our creative desire and engagement. One is about diving very deep in games that we have expertise in and trying to push the end of consistency or of ability, and the other is about the joy of novel learning and discovery. So playing games that we haven't played and discovering them together. And
Sorry,
I
you're
think
mentioning
both
2 things,
series are
but I
really good.
can only find
So
one.
feel free to check them out. Both playlists are on YouTube.
Where was the second link?
And
Sorry.
I sent them to your Discord.
Oh, okay. So after if I tab out now, your face will disappear. Yeah. Okay. So I'll pop those in the chat in a second.
You're muted for me.
I'm muted on Discord. Thank you very much. Yeah, I can't bring them up quite now, but once I've cut you off, I will, because obviously
Sure.
I'm streaming the Discord.
Yeah.
But
Sure.
but thank you so much for coming, and yeah, stick around for 1 minute, and we'll do some stream ending things, and catch Teak tomorrow.
Cheers.
Cheers for coming.